Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Curse of Strahd, Twice Bitten, the show where 5 DMs take on D&D's top Gothic horror campaign. As always, I am Dragon Carter, your host and DM, and it is fantastic to finally be back after, 3 weeks of hiatus? Jesus
Might
Christ.
be 4.
Yeah,
5,000 years.
It's been an eternity since I've seen you.
So here's the question, because I've been looking away from Barovia for the past however long this has been. So what have your PCs been doing the past 3 weeks, and has Strahd killed them yet?
Well, Airthrindir's been hanging around the Visitani camp and, making some overtures and seeing if Madame Eva wouldn't spare just one single teensy-weensy earthquake spell. Just one. It's not that much, right?
It's for a good cause.
Yeah.
Amity's been using a constellation of downtime rules for Adventurers League and is now level 14.
Metreon has just been in the fetal position the entire time.
Kiva's been dramatically singing Tim Burton-esque songs in the forest of Barovia.
Lillison has fucked off to Darkon.
God, take me with you!
I mean, it needs a new Dark Lord. Maybe you can fix it.
No, it doesn't.
Maybe.
Take that out of your mouth. He's here! He's here!
Beautiful. Well, it sounds like everyone's had a fun and productive vacation, but alas, we have reached through the mists and pulled them back onto the slopes of Mount Ghakis. So, I think we're ready to see where they go next, after being denied their earthquakes, after being violently yanked from Darkon and assorted other sundries. In that case, let's get started with Curse of Strahd, Twice Bitten. And welcome back, everyone. So, last we left off on Twice Bitten. Descending into the depths of the Amber Temple atop Mount Ghakis, our heroes ventured forth seeking the secrets of Strahd's dark curse, as well as the target of Casimir's goal to resurrect his sister Katrina. Therein they encountered a guardian of the temple dwelling within a great statue. A guardian they soon learned was an Arcanoloth, a demon guardian of ancient lore. Doing battle with it through the forms of great beasts in polymorph form, they came together and defeated the fiend. With the statue within its hideout had been contained, smashed to pieces, and the body looted, they delved further into the temple treasury, finding therein great riches and loot, including a lot of, surprisingly, dresses and jewelry that made them look incredibly fashionable, despite having lain there for presumably hundreds, if not thousands of years. Continuing forward and further into the depths of the temple, our heroes came into an amber vault, wherein dwelled 3 amber sarcophagi containing dark, shadowed vestiges. Our companions were soon attacked and did battle with a half-dozen vampire spawn that seemed to themselves be the remnants of former adventuring parties within Barovia. Therein, after defeating them and making their stand, the companions investigated the sarcophagi around them. As Kiva and Casimir accepted the dark gift of Zudun, the power of resurrecting the ancient dead, Lillison crept back, silently accepting the dark gift of the vampire, the secret of immortality through undeath. As tempers and tensions flared in the chamber, the companions exited the temple once more, taking the treasure and knowledge obtained therein away with them, and preparing themselves as they loaded up Esmeralda's wagon and summoned once more the conjured horses to pull it, began trundling their way down the mountain, down towards Solenka Pass, Valaki, and at the end of their route, the vampire lurking in Castle Ravenloft. And so, you find yourselves stepping forward just outside of the site of the Amber Temple before it vanishes behind a snowy cliff. Your travel is reasonable pace. The wagon slowly making its way the snow-covered road as it descends the gravel and packed earth down through the winding ways of Mount Ghakis. The Amber Temple is soon vanished entirely beyond the blurring snow. As you travel forward, you see naught but the white and occasional gray of the stone and rock of the mountain spine, though in the distance you think you see very faintly, prowling across the snowy crags, a gray wolf peering down somberly toward you.
Would Metreon see this?
Yes, all of you see it quite easily.
Okay. Seeing this and in the current mind and mood that he's in, aims his finger, hand crossbow style, up at the gray wolf. And for a moment, there's a little bit of flicker of arcane flame at the tip. But thinking better, he calls the spell down and relaxes and kind of keeps a lingering glance before tracking and following the others.
Okay. The wolf continues to watch you, following and prowling very quietly along the crag. 15 minutes, 30 minutes go by. Eventually, there comes to a point where the crag and the path that you're on split, and the wolf vanishes behind a mountain pass. Is there anything the group of you would like to do as you make your way down toward the gatehouse of Solenka Pass?
You mean aside from brooding silently?
Aside from brooding silently, which is also acceptable.
I can brood loudly.
I'm brooding sadly and quietly. Would we need to take another rest, though, to get all the way back down, or...?
From what you recall, it's around a 6.5-hour trip. Well, are you heading to... First off, are you heading to the tower, or are you heading to Valaki?
I
Good
think
question.
the tower to stop off and then to Valaki. I think we're spending the night in the Big V.
Okay, sounds good. In that case, it's probably going to be around... Checking my notes here. I think it's going to be around 5.5 hours or so to get to Van Richten's tower.
Okay. Yeah, by that time it'd probably be getting dark anyway, right?
You probably have another 2 hours or so before dusk to get back to Valaki.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. In that case, assuming the silent brooding continues, you travel northward down the mountain after coming once more to the intersection, the road spiraling southward down into the mists, taking the northern branch instead, and following the path down, overlooking the mass of fog-shrouded trees. Before long, the misted surface of Luna Lake, like a dark mirror coming into view to the north. Another hour goes by, and it's not long before you see the dark gates of the bridge of Solenka Pass coming into view. You can see there the dark stone of the bridge crumbled and crackling. You can see the dark rooms of the gatehouse of the bridge guardhouses, the dark horse statues of the knights silently towering above them, ever watchful. And overhead, there is the constant screaming of the wind, the blurring of ice and snow, as all around you the eternal storm of the mountain rages. The clip-clop of the horse's hooves pulling Esmeralda's wagon continue forward, the snow receding somewhat as you approach the dark bridge where only a few days prior you had seen the dark rider waiting silently upon it. As you move forward, you begin to pass over the stone bridge, your footsteps click-clacking very faintly across the stone. And as you do, faintly at first, but then growing louder, you hear a sound that Kiva immediately recognizes, but magnified far, far louder.
Godzilla. Probably much worse, though, right?
Probably. You hear, through the whirling of the wind, as that cry echoes through the mountain passes, you see a great shadow suddenly swelling in the wind overhead. And as you do, you see that diving toward the bridge is a creature of unearthly size, a bird so monstrous that its wings blot out the sky. I need everyone to roll initiative, please.
Woo!
How did I forget about this?
Damn it. Kiva didn't. Kiva remembers.
15 on initiative.
13.
4.
It's a 19 for me.
Alright, just noting all that down. That's a 13 for Earthrendir. That is a 4 for Amity. And a 16 for Kiva.
19.
Oh, 19. Sweet.
Yeah, I get a +3 to my initiative.
Oh, sick. Okay. And that just need Metreon.
It's gonna be a big old 4.
Alright, beautiful. Okay, so, got our initiatives up. And first off, acting at a 24, Esmeralda. She looks up at the sky toward the creature, the rock of Mount Ghakis, as Casimir actually stumbles back, his eyes wide. And Casimir just says softly at first, and then repeating, almost with a strangled cry, "Everyone, run! Get to cover!" Esmeralda immediately lets out a fierce cry and snaps the reins of the horses, preparing for them to move forward. As she directs them forwards and takes the dodge action, the horses will move on their own turn. Ismark is up. Ismark will put a hand on his sword, standing next to Irina, and will ready an action to... Actually, no. Ismark will actually, given what he can do, he's just going to grab Irina by the hand and pull her toward the guardhouse at the far side of the bridge. She's within his carrying capacity, and he has enough movement to make that, just barely. All right, Kiva, you're up.
Kiva is going to... Sunsword's probably already activated as they're walking, just so she can see in the snow, so she will keep her hand on that and take the dodge action and run after Esmeralda and Ismark and Irina.
Okay, just so you know, Esmeralda's still on the wagon. The wagon hasn't moved yet.
Oh, okay. I thought she was running away.
No, she's the driver, so she has to stay with the horses.
Understood. So she's just going to run herself then and get as far away as possible using the dodge action and then just fucking sprinting.
Okay, you're able to reach the place under the guardhouse where Ismark and Esmeralda have kind of holed up inside one of the small rooms. You see just a small, icy, rocky chamber just onto the side of the bridge underneath where the stone statue of the horse kind of towers over the rest of the structure. In here, you feel pretty secure from at least the claws of the rock. You don't think that it can get you given the rooftop. Okay.
All right, she'll stand sort of close to the entrance, though, just with a hand out ready to, like, grab and pull anyone in if they get close enough, you know what I mean?
All right, sounds good. With that, it is, unfortunately, the rock's turn. it will dive down, screeching toward the bridge again. You hear the sound of its cry echoing, actually hurting your ears with the sheer volume of it. This thing's shadow coming over to swell the entire bridge. Its wingspan so wide it almost touches from side to side of either statue. Each one of its claws easily the size of 2 or 3, capable of snatching up 2 or 3 horses, but this time it's only aiming for one. You watch as one of its claws reaches out, swooping through the icy sky and grabbing around one of Esmeralda's horses. Let's see if it can grapple it. Okay, that is a 23 versus an 8 from the horse. You watch as the rock's claws grapple around the horse's belly. The horse whinnies rapidly, but nonetheless is securely grasped in the rock's massive claws. And with a massive flap of its wings, the rock begins lifting off of the bridge, pulling the horse with it, and after a moment, as Esmeralda shouts in horror and dismay, the rest of the wagon with it.
Oh shit.
Oh boy.
She shouts as she lurches back, suddenly holding onto the reins for dear life, almost toppling off of the side of it. You hear the jingling and jangling of countless pots of coins and other items within, and the clinking of vials of glass inside
Oh shit.
of the wagon as the rock lifts it a full 10 feet off of the bridge, beating its powerful wings and preparing to pull it even further away.
Oh shit.
That is the end of the rock's turn. Lillison, you're up.
Lovely. So the wagon is 10 feet off the bridge. How far up is the rock?
The rock is, I'd say, around one of its, let's see, the wagon is around 10 feet, another 5 feet, 5 feet. I'd say it's around 30-ish, 35 feet off the bridge.
Okay.
If you want to get closer, you can kind of hop up on one of the little wall outcroppings on the side of the bridge to give you another 5-foot lift. It's a little precarious, but you could hop up there.
I think Lillison is going to look very, very tempted by that course of action. But first is going to just thrust out her hand and send a puff of poison at it.
Okay.
Con save, please.
Let's see how it does. That is an 18 plus a bunch.
Ah, okay. Well, with that just completely failing to have any effect, Lillison is going to get a sudden steely look in her eyes and start scrambling up one of the little outcroppings, and with yeah, about. Would it be possible to get to a point where she could jump towards the wagon?
Oh, absolutely. I would say give me an athletics check. Actually, no, it's only like 5 feet above you. I'd say you can reach it. It's pretty close by. So never
Okay.
mind. I'm not going to require a check for this because it's literally 10 feet above the bridge. You're 5 feet above the bridge. You can basically just do a little hop and grab onto like one of the little handles on the very back end of it.
Yeah, Lillison is going to leap at the wagon and try to grab on.
Okay, Lillison, your hands wrap around one of the handles. Actually, let me just pull up my diagram of the wagon here just to make sure that I can get the layout of it properly. Okay. Yes. All right. You're able to grab onto basically a bit on the side where there's kind of this little molding slash hitch sort of apparatus, and just grab onto it with both hands. One of the wooden wheels just spinning wildly and uncontrollably a few inches away from your face.
Okay, with the last of her breath after making that jump, she is going to shout down to Casimir. Casimir, please!
Is there a particular message she's looking to convey, or just looking for general help?
She is going to hope very much that he is going to turn her into a giant ape again.
Ah, beautiful. All right. In that case, that is the end of your turn. Davian will rapidly curse as he begins his turn. She's like, fucking, don't be... Ah! And he will leap forward onto the edge of the bridge and follow up past you, grabbing onto the hitch on the other side. What in the blazes do you think you're doing, girl?
She has no attention to spare for him.
He grimaces and slowly just tries to tighten his grip. That is the end of his turn. Earthendeer, you're up.
I have an important question. From everything Earthendeer knows about Alchemist's Fire, if the card is dropped from the height it's at right now onto the bridge, are those flasks going to detonate?
There is a... I mean, you don't know much about Alchemist's Fire. You know a little bit about it, but you also know from the properties of glass that a wagon that fell 10 feet would probably break a good amount of glass inside of it.
Shit. Okay. Great. This is not ideal, as the kids say. Huh. Question. Did Earthendeer see how Ez was storing the Alchemist Fire in her wagon? Like, is it in a big bag, a box?
It's basically in a padded box.
Okay, I have a plan. So Earthendeer... Oh, okay, one final question. Does the wagon have a way to get inside easily from the back?
Yes. Not from the back, no. But you do recall that there is a trapdoor on the underside of it that if you were to swing from one of the wheels, you may be able to reach.
Could he get there with his movement?
I would say yes. You can certainly try.
All right. Then he's going to do that. Hurl the Blade Song to get a little bit of extra movement, and for the inevitable horror that might happen if this goes wrong. And is going to clamber up to the trapdoor.
All right. I will say it's not an automatic movement. You're able to leap onto the wheel, but it's, like I said, it's swirling wildly, and at the end of your movement, you actually find yourself struggling to hold on as it constantly pivots to the bottom. You will be able to swing up to open up the trapdoor, but I'm going to say it's going to take an athletics check.
Would this not be, like, definitionally acrobatics?
Acrobatics is for keeping your balance. Athletics is for most everything else.
Pain. I'm in pain.
I will say that you have an action left. If you would like to enhance your abilities here, you can do so.
If I used my action for this, would I be able to use the object interaction to grab the box?
I would say yes.
Okay, then enhance ability it is. Bear strength.
All right, give me that athletics check.
Cross your fingers, kids. $16.
The 15 was what you needed. With that grunting and hurling your weight as you pivot back and forth, you whirl upwards, grasping for the trapdoor for a moment, for there's a split second where you are almost weightless in the air, only a fingertip brushing the wagon wheel behind you, and then you grab onto the handle of the trapdoor, pull it hard, and yank it down. Just from sheer memory, recalling where the grooves are that your fingers fit in. You dangle there for a second, looking down. You see hundreds and hundreds of feet plummeting down underneath you, the snow and fog swirling, the yawning depths below, and then gritting your teeth and closing your eyes, hand over hand, you clamber up into the interior of the wagon. You hear everything jangling, glass and metal and everything rustling around toward the very back of the wagon where everything has fallen. You hear the panicked, clucking cries of a very distressed-looking chicken in a cage. And you also see the large chest in which you recall Esmeralda storing the vials of Alchemist's Fire.
Fun
as
fact.
well as across the floor and across a large amount of the front side, a lot of coins.
Oh yeah, great. So he's going to kind of slalom across the coins, grabbing the box in his now enhanced carrying capacity, and is going to grab it and throw himself and it out of the wagon.
Okay.
And cast Featherfall.
Very reasonable.
If
All
that,
right.
If that would take me off the edge, it takes me off the edge.
Yep, so I would say yes, it would take you off of the edge.
That's
especially
fine
given
right now.
holding the wagon. So the rest of you, especially Lillison and Davian, see Earthrendir swing up to the wagon, rustle on for a second, and then haul himself out a second later, holding this large chest in both arms, and then slowly start floating down past the edge of the bridge, down toward the ground far, far below.
Kind of flashes you a lot of bemused peace sign as he goes by very slowly, and then disappears downward, and that's his turn.
As you do, you hear Esmeralda shout, "Please, someone a little help up here!" And you remember that she's still in the driver's seat.
Yes.
We're coming.
All right,
that's
that is the end of Earthrendir's turn. The horses go. The horses will panic. That is their action. Casimir is up. He will run into the shelter of the guardhouse and then curse quietly to himself and dip back out, twisting his hands and murmuring words. You see that shimmering cocoon of green light burst into being around Lillison once more as your form transfigures into the giant ape.
Yes.
Swelling out, or the blood bramble beast, I shall say. As you do, Davian's eyes widen and you start to hear wooden crackling and splintering as the massive weight of your new form bears down on the small hitch you had been holding. I'll need you to make an athletics check to try to grab onto the rock.
Okay, but I will do it as the blood bramble beast, yes?
You will. And I will say that given that it has its claws full with one of the horses, I'll say you have advantage on this.
All right, in that case, that's a 20.
It rolls a 13. The rock screeches in vain, trying to shake its legs as it banks sharply to one side at the sudden weight on its sides. But you manage to lurch up with one massive bramble-covered hand and grab right around one of its legs, holding on. The horses are squealing out of their minds. The rock is shrieking again, and the wagon is swaying dangerously. That is the end of Casimir's turn. Amni and Metreon, you two are up.
You first.
Yeah. So seeing Lillison grappling this big bird, I assume that we're being aggressive towards it, and trying to get Esmeralda down, or at least the wagon. Just gonna throw some quick old Eldritch blasts at it, trying to knock it upside the head.
All right, give me some rolls.
The first one's a 10. I don't think that hits,
Unfortunately, it does not.
but a 25 does.
25 hits. Give me some damage.
It's gonna be 10 plus 3, so that's 13.
All right, the Eldritch Blast crackles through the air and splashes off to the side of the rock's massive beak. It barely even recoils. It seems to have barely noticed the blow at all. This thing's big.
Yeah, my bonus action is to hide. Is there someplace I can hide?
If you'd like to hide in one of the guardhouses after moving there, you're certainly welcome to.
Yeah, I'll start to back away and duck into one of those.
All right, very good. That is the end of your turn. Amity, you're up.
And that's a 27 on the stealth check, by the way.
Beautiful. You feel fairly confident that you're very well hidden.
Cool. May I ask geometrically where the wagon is with respect to the bridge?
Yes, the wagon is around half on, and in terms of like, it's 10 feet above the bridge, 5 feet above the railing. The railing, what Davy and Earthrendir and Lily jumped off of. Around half of the wagon is over the bridge railing, and half the wagon is just over the the forest below.
If the rock released the wagon, would Brambleson be in a position to sort of catch it?
Yes. Currently, Brambleson. Yes, I would say yes.
All right. Amity clenches her fists and then ducks, running out of the guardhouse towards the Fakas. But listen, hold on tight. So I believe the rock is only lifting the wagon because it's lifting a horse, and the horse is tied to ropes, and the ropes are tied to the wagon. So Amity is going to cast Shatter on the ropes.
I will note the ropes are not actually ropes. There appear to be... There's kind of like a wooden frame attaching to the horses.
Does that cause a problem with Shatter attempting to destroy the part?
I would say no. If you're going for like the hinge or the hitch where the horses are attached to the actual frame of the wagon, I would say you could target that. But it will probably blow a hole in the actual wagon.
I'd like to target as much of the hinge as I can without blowing up all the alchemist fire in the wagon. If that means basically centering it on the horse and being mean to the horse, then I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Would you?
But basically as much in that direction as I can get. It's possible.
I will say that if you do that, how many feet does Featherfall descend in a turn?
60.
60.
Okay, so Earthringer just fell 60 feet. Never mind, he's way clear of this. I would say yes, you can do this. But actually, this will hit Esmeralda, and it will destroy her seed.
She's a tough girl.
Fall. She'll fall.
Unless she can grab onto something.
She'll probably fall onto the bridge.
She is not currently over the bridge.
Oh, geez.
That's a problem.
Yeah, that's a problem, huh?
Would you like a suggestion?
If you have one.
I do. Phantom Steed, the spell that Ez is using, I believe they disappear if they take any damage.
I will say that don't assume that you know which spell is enchanting the wagon.
Fair enough.
I see.
And also, that is not entirely correct, which is why I'm mentioning. But yeah. So what does Amity want to do?
Okay. Amity is going to go ahead and, in this panic, I suppose, only with 6 seconds to decide, cast Shatter on the hinges as declared, and hope that Lillison or possibly even Erthrindir can help make Esmeralda not fall too far.
Okay. Shatter goes off. There is a blast of thunderous force as this spiral of spirits summoned forth from the side of the mountain, whispering, shouting, shrieking, and then a blast of sound that fractures the hinges that connect the horses to the wagon. As you find, however, actually, no, that actually does work. I'm just checking the text here. So, the horses and their tethers actually do not take any damage whatsoever. It's strange, but they don't seem to be injured. They don't seem to be even affected. But you watch as this entire, 3-inch deep section of wood is just blown apart by the Shatter spell, and the wagon begins to fall. Esmeralda shouts, her eyes wide, her limbs flailing as she suddenly reaches, grasping for anything that she can try to grab onto. She's going to make a dexterity saving throw.
Come on.
Also, come on for Brambleson catching this wagon without
19.
blowing it up.
She grabs right onto one of the handles, just onto the side of the front of the wagon, breathing hard. You can see her legs kind of dangling just over the very edge as the wagon begins to fall. I will need from Lillison, your choice of a strength or dexterity saving throw to catch the wagon.
I will go for strength because I am large.
You are very large.
Saving throw?
Yes, please.
9.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Oh, wow.
No reactions?
What am I supposed to do?
Okay, so with that, Lillison, you grab forward, grasping, and your massive brambled claws crunch into the underside of the wagon, just barely missing a secure place to grasp onto it. You hold onto it, but as you do, the door flies open on the opposite side. You, Airthunder, you just faintly watch as suddenly flinging forth as the wagon kind of lolls over the side of the bridge. 4 iron pots full of coins tumble out and begin pelting you like harsh metal rain, just smacking you in the face. You like to shield the chest with your body almost to prevent, and then bang, one goes right off of your shoulder blade.
Ow!
You hear a very frantically clucking chicken as a cage starts falling out of it. Esmeralda will make a dex save, and she curses, lashes out with a hand, and grabs onto the cage and the very panicked chicken. Alright, is that Amity's turn?
If there's any way Esmeralda's visible enough that she can try to use, telekinesis to pull her to a safe zone, then that's...
I would
just
say
side
not
feet.
from your current view. She
That's
is off
fair.
the edge of the bridge, dangling from the wagon.
Then there's nothing else she can do. Pass turn.
Alright, at the start of your run, just to sum up where everything is. First off, as soon as the wagon is severed, you watch as the horses disappear from the rock's grasp. It screeches again, flaring its wings, looking around with, looking down, not toward the bridge, but almost toward the forest below, as though confused. You get the sense this thing is not incredibly smart. But currently on the bridge, we have Brambleson holding on, her claws actually crunching through the bottom carriage of the wagon. It is dangling at a 45-degree angle off the edge of the bridge. Airthundir is around 60 feet below it, holding a chest full of alchemist's fire as he floats down to the ground. Below him, several pots full of hundreds, if not thousands, of coins are falling down toward the forest floor. And Esmeralda is dangling from one hand off of a handle off of the front of the wagon while holding a chicken cage in the other. And Davian is on the opposite hitch, right on the side of the wagon. So, Esmeralda's turn is up. She has no hands free. A little help, please. Ismark will stay with Irina. Kiva, you're up.
All right. So, if Kiva were to run back to the bridge, does she have enough movement to do that without having to take an action to dash?
Yes, you can get to the area where the action is going down with a single movement.
Amazing. So, Kiva's gonna do that, and then is there a way for her to use an action to yeet Esmeralda up to safety?
I would say not from here. You could try to, because you would need to climb to the other side of the wagon, and she does not currently have any hands free. So she's well, actually, let me picture this, because Gorillison is standing on the edge of the bridge. The wagon is kind of half on, half off. Yeah, I would say that you can't reach Esmeralda from your current location. She's a good 6 or 7 feet away from you.
Fuck. And there's no way to bonus action move, right?
Unfortunately, not as a barbarian paladin. I'm sorry. It's a
okay.
good thought.
All right. Well, I guess she's just going to ready an action for, I guess, the moment Ez has a free hand to just try to be there to help her up, if that makes sense, and is something
Gotcha.
I can do. Okay.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, so she's just going to be right there. As soon as Ez has at least a free hand or something that she can use to pull her up, that's what she's going to do.
All right, that is your turn. The rock will fly on its turn another 60 or feet so away from the bridge. Look down, kind of confused over the forest, blinking its sharp eyes piercing down. It kind of swoops down and then banks slightly upward until it's around 100 feet away from the bridge, and then caws out, screeching, as it begins to circle back toward you. But it does not yet reach the bridge. Lillison, you're up.
All right. First priority, getting this wagon safely onto the bridge with everybody attached to it also safely.
All right, how does she plan to accomplish that?
If necessary, get a better hold on the wagon and then just sort of like hauling it back and placing it lightly down on the bridge.
All right, I would say that's very doable. You kind of haul it up, pulling it up. It kind of screeches and groans, some of the wood still splintering, and then hauling it up. There's a brief moment, however, where the sheer strain from the front of the wagon begins to pull away very faintly, and you watch as you pull it over the last few inches. It begins to crumple and fall away. Esmeralda's eyes going wide as her hand, still with holding the birdcage in it, as she struggles to hold on to the handle, sweeps up toward the side of the bridge. Kiva. I would say as this edge of the wagon just faintly begins to fall away, there's a brief moment where Esmeralda's life flashes before both of your eyes, and then because you're in position, you reach out, snap your hand around her wrist, and haul her and the birdcage over the side of the edge, as the very edge of the back frame of the wagon goes hurtling down into the fog below.
I'm just saying this would be an awesome opportunity for like a dramatic post-rescue, like, I don't know, declaration of love or whatever.
And with that, Lillison hauls the rest of the wagon, now missing its entire front siding, still clattering and clinging with all of the other half of your loot still remaining inside of it.
Dragnet, I have a horrible
down
question.
onto the bridge. Shoot, what you got?
Doesn't that hit Earthrendir?
I would say, purely for comedic effect, and because of the location of it, you prepare for it to hit you, and then it falls down around you as you pass through the door.
Phenomenal.
That's an amazing mental image.
Beautiful. And with that, Lillison, you still have the rest of your turn. You have hauled this back. I would say that's your free object interaction.
All right. Dragna, how many rocks are there around me?
I would say you could probably...
I mean, there's one in the air, so...
Well,
At least one. I would say that due to the age and the rubble, there is at least one rock reasonably sized that you could just take from the bridge around you.
I will take that stone and I will hurtle it at the bird.
Okay, roll me a hit.
19 to hit.
19 to hit. That will hit. Give me some damage.
28 damage.
Okay, let me just check something real quick. Okay, 28 damage. The rock hurls through there and smashes right into the rock's left chest. It goes spinning back for a few moments, flapping its wings hard. You actually managed to wind it for a second.
Bramble Beastison will roar a challenge into the air and then, on second thought, look at the wagon and Ez and Kiva and also just sort of point at one of the guardhouses.
Okay. That's the end of your turn. Are you moving at all?
No.
All right. Davian's turn. He is going to shake his head, just kind of looking around at the scene, and he's going to make a run for one of the guardhouses. Earthrendir, you're up.
So, Earthrendir, covered in wood shavings, like, still in the dress from earlier, I should note, and just carrying a bomb as he floats down to the ground, just looks up, sighs deeply, shifts the chest to the other hand, casts Fireball at 5th level.
Oh my god, I love it. Alright, that could be a dex save from the rock.
Yes.
That is an 8.
Oh my god. Somehow that's 23 damage on 10d6.
I'm very sorry. But there's a blast of flame across the rock's lower body, and it screeches again as its feathers, its down, are just scarred and scorched and charred black in places as the bursting eruption of fire flames around it. Are you just going to keep falling?
I'm gonna keep falling. I see no great alternative.
All right, the horses are no longer existent. Casimir will sigh and peer around the corner and will fire off his own 4th level fireball at the rock. That's another failure. Dealing 36 points of fire damage. So it's... Alright. There's another blast into the side of the rock swing. You see many of the feathers now are black and smoking. Then Casimir will duck back into the guardhouse. Amity and Metron, you're up.
So the scene is everyone's on the bridge now, safe? Or Esmeralda's still
yes.
hanging off?
Esmeralda has been rescued by Kiva.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I guess seeing this bird get blasted with fireballs, Metron thinks back and wonders when he can have roast chicken again. And yeah, he's gonna pop out, shoot out a firebolt.
All right, roll to hit.
Since you said the Eldritch Blast didn't seem to really do much to him.
It did not do much, no.
Okay. Maybe this will do something.
Not in terms of like it was resistant, but just because it's a really big bird.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, just seeing that it's a big bird, but fire seemed to be effective. He'll shoot out a firebolt instead.
All right.
26.
Ooh,
26
nice
will
shot.
hit. Roll some damage.
A big ol' 8.
All right, 8 points of damage. There is another little scorch mark just off of the left side of the rock's brow in the distance.
Oh, no, wait, I'm sorry. That's 8 plus 3, so 11.
Right, okay, so another 3 damage.
Yeah.
All right, very nice. You're going to duck behind cover, I presume?
Yeah, bonus action hide.
All right, Amity, you're up.
It's 25.
All right, there's still some people on the bridge, e.g. Wagon, that the rock is diving towards now, correct?
It seems to be circling back, yes.
Okay, Amity will turn and backpedal halfway towards the guardhouse, but then turning towards the rock, this flare of like spiritual energy, like ghosts surrounding her, pointing at it. She is going to ready the dissonant whisper spell for when it gets close enough.
Ooh.
All right. Very nice. Remind me when that happens. Esmeralda is up. She turns and looks around at... I think Kiva and Brambleson are the only ones on the bridge, right?
Correct.
All right. Yes?
Sorry.
She'll turn to Kiva. For a moment, actually, she will start by looking at her wagon just in utter dismay. There is kind of a paleness to her cheeks. She swallows hard and turns to the other two of you. Thank you. Are we going to get cover?
That is the plan, yes, so we might need to move now.
Right. Come with me. And she grabs your hand, and she's gonna, if you don't resist, she's gonna try to pull you toward the guardhouse.
Me and the chicken, yes.
Yes, you and the chicken. It's very important.
That's all anyone wants.
All right. As we'll pull you and the chicken into the guardhouse. That is the end of her turn. She has to dash to get there. But next up is the rock. Reaching in, it swirls around and banks toward the bridge, its wings flaring wide, and begins to push forward toward you, screaming again in defiance, this time toward the only creature remaining on the bridge, who I believe is Gorillison. There is a brief, exactly. There is a brief King Kong / Godzilla stare-off moment, and then Amity's Dissonant Whispers triggers.
Yes, it does. Spirits form a wall in front of Lillison, their voices overlapping, like, flee, run away, move or die, and has to make a wisdom saving throw.
Okay, very good. There's a moment where the spirits seem to rush toward it. You see a silvery mist surrounding the rock's eyes, and then it shrieks again, splitting the air, and the spirits split apart. It rolls a 23, unfortunately, on its wisdom save. But I believe it's
come
6
on.
damage. I'm sorry.
Yeah, takes 7 damage, but it breaks through.
All right, very good. That is the end of that ready action. It's going to make its way toward Dilly, and then claws going wide. It's going to rake across Grillison's face as it's going to attack with its talons. That is a 19 to hit.
That hits.
All right, that's going to deal 18 slashing damage, and you
All
are
right.
grappled.
This seems fine.
You are also restrained.
Seems
As
less
its
fun.
talons wrap around your actual body, pinning your arms to your sides, and it's going to lash out and peck out with its beak directly toward your face.
Ooh.
Oh,
That is a 24 to hit.
That hits.
All right, that's going to deal 30 points of piercing damage.
oh!
Oh, okay.
I'm in Spain, but minus the S.
Okay. With that said, as the rock ends its turn, it's going to begin flapping its wings again and beginning to lift you very faintly off of the bridge, 5 feet up, this time moving in the opposite direction. As it ends its turn, Casimir will call out from the guardhouse, "Listen, I can drop the spell if you want to escape."
There is the beginning of a defiant roar that sort of mumbles off into more of an abashed noise.
All right, Casimir will, at his discretion, he will drop concentration on the spell, and you will suddenly, zoop, from this massive, huge-sized bramble beast to small Lillison. The rock's talons leaving large gaps for you to fall through, and I will say this ends the restraining on you and the grapple, and you plummet 10 feet to the ground, taking 1 point of bludgeoning damage and landing prone.
All right.
It is your turn.
I will pick myself up and start running.
Okay, and I presume with your cunning action you can dash as a bonus?
Yes.
All right, I would say, Lillison, running, powering through the swirling snow and screaming wind, you make your way, joining the others in the guardhouse.
Slumping hard against a wall and just breathing heavily, and after a moment, glancing back over her shoulder, Lillison is going to gauge to see if the rock looks like it's leaving permanently or whether it's just circling back around.
Currently, it looks very confused. This is the second time that its prey has just vanished from its talons for no apparent reason, and it's looking very distressed.
I think perhaps we should get out of sight until it leaves.
Okay. Davian will readily nod and kind of beckon the rest of you further into the recesses of the guardhouses. Earthendur, I believe, will continue falling another 60 feet, so he's 180
I'm having a
feet
good
below the
time.
bridge. Yep.
Having a great time.
At that point, Esmeralda will raise a hand and say somewhat shakily, "What about Earthendur?"
Shit.
We have to get back out there so that the rock tries to swoop at us instead of him. I don't know if he can defend himself in the air.
Casimir, do you have that other shape, the beast that can fly?
He nods. I do, though I think that maybe we want to split our efforts. From what I can see, the bird's taken a bit of a beating. Do we want to keep the fire up on it while someone goes down to scoop up Earthendur?
Yes, Kiva, do you want to go down and...
Yes, yeah. What do you need me to do? I can wait for Earthendur, or I can try to unleash some things on the bird.
Casimir looks toward you. If y'all don't mind having wings, scooping up Earthendur while we take on the rock, I think that might work.
Yeah, that works for me.
All right, in that case, Casimir will ready an action to polymorph you into a giant eagle as soon as you step out onto the bridge again.
Fuck yes! Is it like a rotting eagle?
Yes, it is. It is like skeletal, almost zombie-like. There's kind of like looks like it's been sewn together multiple times from like
Corpse
several
eagle
different Frankensteinian.
bride.
It's great. And there are perched on the very tip of its beak, two small purple rings just below its eyes that look almost, but not quite, like they could be really rad spectacles.
Dragnet, I love it. I love it.
I am to please. All right, Amity and Metreon, your turns are up. Saving Private Airthrindir is go for Kiva. What are the two of you doing in the meantime?
Spooky jukes. Yeah. I am going to, since the consensus seems to be we're trying to kill this thing, as well as save Airthrindir. I don't really have anything to help Airthrindir from where I'm at, so I'm going to go ahead and keep blasting.
All right.
It's a 20. Dirty
20
20.
will hit.
Oh wait, no, that's damage. Yeah, it's 10 points of fire.
13.
All right, another
13
crackling
points of
bolt
fire.
of flame smashes into the rock side, singeing it in the place where one of the earlier fireballs had actually burned away a large patch of feathers. It's not looking good. Is that your turn?
Yeah, bonus action hide 28.
All right, very good. Start of Esmeralda's turn. She'll look up at the
Amity's
Key-Beagle.
turn?
Wait, hold on.
Oh, sorry, no,
Amity's turn.
Amity's turn.
Do I get a turn? Okay, cool.
Sorry. Yep.
Yeah, Amity's going to leave the safety of the guardhouses onto the bridge. Delicious Amity here. She tries to like taunt the rock towards her. I think it's pretty close by. Trolley's gonna swoop again, so Amity will again ready Dissonant Whispers. Try to waste
Okay.
its time.
Very good. Esmeralda's turn begins, top of the round. She will look at the Key-Beagle, snap off a grim nod, and duck briefly out of the guardhouse, and two fingers together unleash a crackling bolt of black lightning toward the rock. She will cast this at 4th level. The rock does not make it save, as it is hit with 24 points of lightning damage. It actually almost seems to burn a hole through part of its left wing, sizzling and crackling with small arcs of lightning. It begins to flag, compensating with the other wing to flap up. Ismark will take his turn, making one attack with the hand crossbow. Or not the hand crossbow, the heavy crossbow. He's doing his best. Unfortunately missing going wide as the wind screaming blows it off course. He will curse and then pop back into reload. Kiva, you are a bird, and you have, I believe...
80 feet of fly speed.
You're pretty fast. Airthrindir is 180 feet below you. You can get within 20 feet of him if you dash. Would you like to?
Yes. Kiva will do that. She can't communicate as a bird, right? Just squawking.
Oh,
you,
no.
you
Oh,
speak
no.
the language giant eagle.
She is going to squawk in a way that she hopes tells Airthrindir to drop the spell and just fall onto the bird. Just like Irish squawking.
Oh, my gosh.
I would say that on this turn, since you're still 20 feet above him, you can't quite do it. But I would say that your squawking combined with if you were to like fly directly below him, that would probably be enough to convey the
Yes,
message.
yeah, that's what she wants to do, because she sort of wants to like be underneath, wait for him to like drop, and then just swoop off.
Gotcha. All right, sounds good. In that case, that's the end of your turn. Airthrindir, well, first off, the rock is up. It's going to move toward Amity, who is presenting herself as a delicious treat on top of the bridge. It makes a wisdom save.
Yeah, it makes a wisdom save.
Come on.
11.
Heck yeah. As these spirits assault the rock's senses, even though they don't understand them, whispering like, "Flee, run away," it still gets the vibe. And I don't even know how like a 6-ton creature turns on a dime, but it still must use its reaction to run away, and it does take 12 psychic damage.
Yep. Actually, as the rock moves toward you, there's heartbeat, pounding, blood rushing and screaming in your ears. It stretches its talons out toward you, mere feet away from grasping around your face, each talon twice as tall as you are. And then you fling out a hand, summoning forth the spirits that have been whispering in your dreams and your thoughts for the past days, and this massive nimbus, twice as wide and tall and thick and flaring with silvery ethereal strands, bursts toward you, a wall of ethereal, shrieking, whispering souls. The rock spreads its wings wide, beating wildly as it caws in sudden terror, flapping, bringing itself to a stop, with as great gusts of wind bat at you from either side. And then it flaps another time, blasting away, soaring straight up into the sky and banking outward as it has to use its reaction to, I believe, move 120 feet away from you. Is that correct?
Woo!
All right. Beautiful. Real you shall not pass moment right there. That is the end of the rock's turn. Lilliston, you're back up.
All right, well, that rock is far out of range of anything Lilliston can do now. So she is going to venture out and just stare downwards in trepidation. Also going to ready an action to cast poison spray at the rock if it comes back within range.
All right, very good. Davian is up. He cannot reach the rock. He will pass his turn. Erthrindir, you see this corpse bride-looking giant eagle thing diving down toward you. Its wings tucked into its sides, built for speed at every level. It is looking to not hit you, but just kind of go. It looks like it's aiming for just underneath you. Is there anything you'd like to do as you see this happening?
Well, scream, chiefly, as this thing comes barreling towards him. But then once it gets close enough that he recognizes the little pair of glasses, and he's going to realize who it is, and just, oh, okay. And he's going to ready an action for... Well, I can't actually stop Featherfall without just Dispel Magicking on myself, but once, next turn, when Kiva's... Actually, I can. It's silly, but... Mid-air maneuverability.
Can I suggest not dropping the spell and picking up velocity, and you are holding all the alchemist fire?
Understandable, have a nice day. Yeah, no, he's just going to wait and get ready to grab onto Kiva once she can try and catch him. Just his eyes wide with panic.
Okay, in that case, Erthrindir's turn ends. Casimir is up. He's going to send another 4th level fireball after the eagle. Or not the eagle, the rock. Sorry, he's not hitting Kiva.
That'd be bad.
The rock succeeds? Yes, it does. So it takes half damage. Taking 15 points of fire damage. It is looking very hurt. That is the end of Casimir's turn as he ducks back inside. Metreon and Amity, you're up.
So you said he's within 120 feet of us, or?
The rock is, I would say it's around 125, 130 feet away, because it wasn't right next to Amity.
All right. I'll step out about 10 feet and seeing it flying. So it's flying away. Does it look like it's still aggressive, though? I mean, I know that Casimir just threw a fireball at it, but...
Make your choice of perception or insight.
Oh, both of those are great. Actually, this is not bad. 19.
It's looking incredibly injured. You think that Amity's Distant Whispers was the clincher. It looks like it's flying away.
Okay, so I'll step out and I'll put my fingers up as if to cast Firebolt again, but taking a moment to look at it, and almost relating to its broken state. I lower my finger and I use the rest of my movement to get up to Amity and just put my hand on her shoulder. And I put my other hand up towards Casimir, like waving it to stop, and just watch the rock fly away.
Okay. Amity, your turn.
Amity will follow Metreon's lead, lower her hands, and watch the rock disappear into the clouds.
Okay. Bringing us back to the initiative order. Kiva, at your turn, would you like to continue moving?
Yes, indeed. She's gonna just try to get like right underneath Erthrindir so that he gently feather falls into her waiting ghostly wing arms.
Okay. And Anthony, you're still holding onto the chest, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm falling very slowly.
All right, with that, Kiva, you duck under Erthrindir. And I would say that given your proximity, you can actually just kind of scoop him up, given that Erthrindir was pretty much,
I love that. Just like a
ready
gentle.
to grab
Yeah,
onto you.
that's
Yeah.
great.
So with one arm, he kind of holds onto the trunk, as with the other arm, he kind of lashes it around your neck, like holding you onto the back like some kind of eagle rider.
Holy shit.
Very hobbitish. And
Thank you. Thank you.
I would say that given the weight on your back, you are moving at half speed, but that's still 40 feet around. So if you want to move another, 40 feet or so toward the bridge, you can.
Yeah, she's gonna just head right back where they came from.
All right, very good. And with that, the rock beats its wings, the gale and the blizzard swirling around it as it vanishes into the dark, swirling clouds. A few moments pass, and it's not long, for once more, the giant eagle lands atop the bridge, lowering its back, presenting Erthrindir and the chest atop it.
Oh, I've never flown like that. Thank you, Kiva. Oh,
Kiva
I was
just
gonna die.
coos and starts preening.
Yeah. Wow, we were all gonna die. But we didn't. And he just sort of collapses onto the bridge. Holy shit.
Let me take that, and Atran will scoop up the box away from Erthrindir and bring
Please.
it back over to Esmeralda.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh, Corellian blessed us today. If we had been a little bit slower. That's me, Ez, Davian, Lillison, and all our treasure in the world's largest fireball. Ez, are you willing to yield the point about the alchemist's fire now?
She is just staring at her wagon. Dented, splintered, the floor crunched up, the entire front face ripped off, the hitches and scaffold for the horses completely gone. She just has this absolute tunnel vision look in her eye. She's not saying anything right now.
Yeah, I mean, a little paint and, a couple of planks of wood, spruce it right back up.
There's a loud creaking noise and one of the wheels collapses. And the wagon
Yeah.
just kind of lurches over onto one of its sides.
Yeah, I mean, we can fix that, right? Yeah.
Kiva just comes over with her beak and nudges Esmeralda's shoulder.
Esmeralda kind of absent-mindedly pats the beak and just kind of snaps out of it. Right. Okay. Well, I guess I won't be needing that anymore.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's all right.
Oh,
And she looks like she very much wants to say something else, but she shakes her head.
one of you, I'm not good with remembering what you got magic-wise, but I saw this spell once where they was piecing mending things back together. Somebody did at a bar, they broke a stool and they mended it back together, one of the wizards. Is there something you all can do? Maybe we could get the back wheel fixed up.
It'd take a long while, and we need Kiva to fly down and get the front half of the wagon to be able to manage it.
Well, no, I mean, it just changed Lillison into Gorillison again, and she can hold the rest down, right?
I guess.
Yeah, kind of like a rickshaw. Yeah.
That only
Yeah.
lasts.
Are you proposing to turn me into a beast of burden?
Well, I mean, if it's no burden to you.
I mean, it wouldn't be if I suppose. Casimir,
He nods.
thank you. You're
So,
really the one that saved us today.
I don't know about that. I might be able to cast fancy spells, but throwing myself in harm's way like that is something I'm working on. Y'all have I've heard legends about the rock of that mountain for centuries. I've never seen anyone drive it off the way that you lot did. You got something I don't.
Well, numbers mostly.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
And I think I'm starting to learn the value of that.
Well then, let's see if we can't get this thing moving at least.
All right. So, are you going to be casting mending on trying to get the wheel back together?
Yep. Enough that
Alright.
it is not whole but functional.
Okay.
Kiva could fly down and get the other half of the wagon if that helps.
I would say that given the sheer number of breaks, I don't think the mending spell can handle that. It can handle the wheel, but it couldn't
Alright.
handle the.
That being said, if Kiva wants to pick up some of our treasure, she's more than welcome to.
Let's do that.
That would take a while if you want to start searching the Svalich floor for thousands of coins that have been scattered over a quarter-mile radius.
It's all right. Kiva's still got her 6,000 in her backpack. That might cover
True
us
that.
a little bit.
Hopefully.
There.
All right. Then yeah, Erthel sat down to do some mending.
All right. In that case, you take the time needed. It's around 10 minutes or so to fix all the small cracks and splinters to get the wheel back up. Are you using Casimir's final 5th level spell slot for the polymorph to get it back up, or
To get what back up?
like to have Lilison do things?
I guess, if that'll speed things up.
Lilison, you up for that?
I mean, if we are going to try to get the front of the wagon, actually, if we turn Lillison into Gorillison again, she could probably just like carry the wagon as we continue down the mountain, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah,
The
that's what I was
polymorph only
thinking.
lasts for an hour.
Yes, well, we can do that for an hour.
Eva used the rest of her hour to like sort of pull it like flying, like not carry it, but like be a horse that flies instead of walking on the
I would say
ground.
yes. In giant eagle form, you can kind of lift it up a little bit so that Earther can fix the wheel. I would say that you can kind of nudge it forward a little bit, at least for the rest of the hour.
Yeah, we'll do that. And then maybe
Earthendir's still
switch off
strong. He can help
with
too.
Will.
Great. Okay, in that case, getting the wagon back together, you kind of push the things back to the edge of it as best as you can, despite the fact that it's now somewhat open on the front face. And with that, if you'd like to start moving forward again.
I would.
Okay, just to confirm, as you do, you begin moving forward. And leaving the bridge behind as the wagon pulled by yourselves and Kiva in large bird form begins shuddering and creaking its way across the winding road, past the white tower topped with the statues of knights, then toward the gatehouse with the green burning portcullis.
Aerith dispels it.
All right, you're going to have to roll for it.
Ten.
Unfortunately not. The spell fizzles out.
He will try to dispel it again with his last slot.
Do,
All right,
do you
roll
want
again?
inspiration?
I would
Like
love
last
that,
time?
dear. Please.
All right. Amity basks in it for a few seconds and then says, "All right, you got this last time. You can do it this time. Bardic inspiration."
Thank you, dear. That's a 12, even with the inspiration.
Unfortunately not.
Well, that's my last spell of the day.
Let me see something real quick.
Unless y'all have some
Casimir-
way of helping me recover that, I think we're
Yeah.
stuck for the evening.
Oh,
Yeah, Casimir
hey!
does not know dispel
Wait,
magic.
whoa!
Oh.
Good timing.
Oh?
Oh yeah.
I have a new thing that I can do.
Oh, you
Oh,
do?
shit.
So I'm gonna roll a d3 real quick.
Come on. Come on,
Big
come
money,
on, come
no
on.
whammies.
What?
Yes!
That's 3. It doesn't matter. Here we go. So you are going to get a spell slot back. At the very least, it is a level 3 spell slot.
Oh shit, how does that look?
Kiva is going to. I assume this is after her Great Eagle form is gone.
Yeah.
So Kiva's just gonna, as you're bemoaning about your last spell for the day, Kiva's just, she gets this like feeling in the back of her mind, and that sort of like sense of magic that she's been coming more accustomed to as she's been in Barovia sort of like crackles in her body. And without sort of realizing why, she just sort of like touches you, and sort of like her shocking grasp, that sort of like vine tendril sort of thing on her fingertips, just sort of like creeps and touches you. And once you do, you feel yourself sort of like bolstered and boosted magically. And that's what happens.
For a moment, you see Aerith tear up. That's Fae energy. It felt like home. Thank you.
Kiva just sort of like nods and doesn't really know what just happened.
Understandable.
But yeah, she just sort of looks down at her hands and watches the vine sort of recede into her like rotting corpsey hand. And then, yeah.
Hey, Amity, friend of mine, can I have a little more inspiration?
Did that? What? That's amazing. Of course, you can have more inspiration.
Thank you. All right, let's see how this goes. 25.
With that, you draw into the well of magic within yourself, and you feel this burning, shimmering edge to it. It almost sounds like the twinkling of chimes, of distant stars, of faint laughter on a mossy meadow. Something pure in your heart, a gift that Kiva gave you that even Barovia cannot touch. And as you draw upon that warmth, that light, you unleash the Dispel magic as it swirls forward a torrent of greens and pinks and yellows and lavenders and cyans, devouring the flame filling the gatehouse as it winks out, burning low to the ground, a faint inch-tall line of harmless flames. As you step forward, the portcullis silently, and then as it reaches higher, grinding in its ancient rusty frame, lifts to let you pass.
Hell yes. Aerith's just laughing jubilantly, hugging Kiva, Corpse Bride and all, and then Amity. God, we're some kind of people, aren't we? You know what?
Just sort of smiles.
Yeah.
But doesn't say anything. She's just sort of happy that it all worked out, and it wasn't like a curse.
True that. That would have been really funny, though. You know what? We might have 2 days left to live. I'm not spending them miserable. Come on, guys. Let's go home.
Okay. With that, you make your ways through the gatehouse, down the winding path of the mountain. Another hour, then another passes, before you find yourselves reaching the very edge of Solenka Pass, and once more, the Raven River Crossroads at Solenka Pass. Taking the westward road as the day moves into the early afternoon, then late afternoon. You find yourselves passing between the trees and ascending the faint hunting trail, only a short distance away from the tower. And it's not before long that you hear the faint rippling, lapping of the waves across the shore, see the faint mist curling atop the lake, and see the old tower coming once more into view.
Victor! We're back!
You see a face. There's a beat, and then a face pops up in one of the upper windows. Eyes wide. Then kind of pushes for the window, fiddling for it, and finds the place. It pops open, and then he looks down over you, eyes wide. Are you sure you're real?
Pretty sure, yeah.
Thank the gods! Get me out of here, please.
All right,
no-
calm down.
There's all right, and he immediately retreats, and you hear the grinding of chains as he begins to lower, presumably from the elevator inside.
I did not think that a few days without magic would affect him that strongly.
I gave him a book.
As you prepare yourselves on the exterior and approach, a minute or so goes by, and then the door bursts open, and Victor comes running out, panting. Oh, please, tell me that you're here to take me back to a place that has hot food and does not have cold beds with bugs and mildew in them, and that actually has a place indoors to use one's facilities.
I do. There is some bad news, though. It's only for one night.
I just get me out of here, please.
All right, come on.
I can't do anything in there. Do you know how cold it is in there? This without magic.
Did you not? I cut you like a huge stack of firewood.
He looks sincerely confused at that for a moment. I thought it was there to build some sort of defenses if something tried to break down the door, but I couldn't find any nails.
All right, this evening we're having a lesson about Mr. Flint and Mr. Tinderbox.
He nods, looking somewhat confused, and falls in beside you.
I am impressed that you know how to use nails, though.
Oh, I don't.
So, is this going to be a public lecture about the Flint and Tinder?
I mean, if it want to be.
Victor just kind of coughs. I think I would. Perhaps you could tell me later on the road. And he just
Fair
kind of
enough.
looks somewhat sheepish for a moment, coughs, and says, "It was, I suppose, a good read, though. So thank you." And he moves to hand you back the book. That you
I'm
closed.
glad. I spent a long time on this, and he'll stow the book back in his pack.
Would
Well
it be
then.
too cruel for Kiva to like sneak up behind Victor and scare the shit out of him because of the way she looks?
Possibly,
I mean,
but follow your heart.
follow your heart.
I'll save it.
All right.
She's
Looks
keeping the
up.
hood up on Rahadan's cloak and is like,
Yeah, Casimir is doing much the same. Both of your faces are basically in shadow at this point. Victor does not seem to be taking much notice of you.
She does let Casimir in on the plan, though. Like, wouldn't it be fucking hysterical if we just, like, surprised him when he was sleeping?
He chuckles very dryly. As much as I like the idea, I'd prefer... Well... I
Just
suppose if you
remember
try something, I
how
could just...
cruel he was to you when he was staying in your home and how much of a little shit he was, and just think on it.
Oh, I
I'll
don't
be
think I
here.
should have. All right, I think I'll think on it. If I had a little more juice in the magic tank to make sure you didn't pull anything stupid, I think I might go for it. But at the moment, perhaps not. I like the idea, though.
That's enough for Kiva.
Beautiful. All right. Victor does look at the wagon, kind of like looking completely just slack-jawed. What the blazes happened to that thing? Why are you pushing it?
You ever heard of a rock with a C, but no K?
He blinks, and let me check if he has. His face pales. You fought. What?
Yeah, we beat it. It was a good time. I fell like
What?
180 feet until Kiva scooped me up as an eagle. was a good time.
He's just quietly sputtering.
We'll tell you the story on the way, along with the flint and tinder.
He nods and just kind of shakes his head as he steps beside the wagon.
And we now have 11 in the party.
All right, is there anything more you'd like to do here before heading back to Valaki?
Not particularly.
Isn't that 12 with the chicken?
And 13 with truffle.
And 13 with truffle, yes.
Cannot forget truffle.
Ooh, lucky
Nothing
13.
Nothing here, but on the way back, Lillison will probably want to have a quiet word with Amity.
Okay.
Interesting. Should we do that now, or?
I would say there's nothing else you'd like to do. You leave the tower behind. Find yourselves pulling or pushing the wagon by whatever means available. I believe you still have ropes, for example. You could probably tie them to that. So I presume that's what you've been doing this whole time.
Yep.
It is backbreaking work, but you managed to, rig up some sort of train to carry it together. And as you step back onto the road, you are able to travel more or less in peace.
I will also say that uncharacteristically, because it would probably take a couple people to hoist this thing on ropes, that Metreon does actually take one of the ropes this time and is helping to pull it, looking very determined. Also, his keeping to himself and quietly grunting as he's pulling it. You can tell that he's not top strength heavy, so this is a new thing.
We know where his strength lies. That's fine.
Yeah, but he is trying.
Aw.
Yeah.
Okay. Lillison and Amity, you find yourselves somehow coincidentally walking alongside each other for a moment, if you'd like to speak.
Yeah, Lillison is going to sort of sidle up near Amity and give her a speculative sideways look before just sort of shyly clearing her throat.
Yeah, Amity, sort of, her head turns to look at you.
Amity, how long have you been, speaking with the dead?
It started here in Barovia. I've never been able to do anything like it before then. Are you asking about, like, the first time here?
Yes, I suppose.
I think the first time, right, it was when we were at the Vistani camp. I mean, not the one near Valaki, the other one, near Madame Ava. And I did a seance where one of them gave me this augury ability. So I don't even remember how long ago that was, like a week or two, but that's when it started.
I see. Spirits have been attending your steps since then?
Amity nods. Yeah, though it's only even more recently that I've been able to just sort of, and she demonstrates by, like, lifting up a random pebble on the side of the road and dropping it back down. See them everywhere and sort of, you know what I mean? I know I'm sort of flustered right now. It's hard to explain exactly why.
Lillison nods and keeps walking in silence for a few moments and then looks up again and lowers her voice. Do any of them seem sad or angry to be dead?
Is this a question I should ask you, Dragna?
You mean the spirits?
Yeah, Lillison's question of whether any of the spirits seem sad or angry to be dead.
I would say of the spirits you've seen, there are many of assorted dispositions. They are sad, they are cruel, They're angry. They are melancholy. Some of them have memories of joy, but many of them have found those memories faded. There is not a sorrow to them, but the ones that you found in Barovia, there is a despair, a tiredness, a sense of being stretched thin over too many boards. There is a clear sense that the spirits in this land are old and tired.
Yeah, some of them are sad and angry and hurt. Not all of them, but a lot of them. I hope it's because this place. I mean, everyone here is sad and hurt, and not just being dead in general.
I also hope so. You asked before what it was like on the other side. And I don't know if staying there much longer would have changed me or changed any spirit that is there and can't get out.
You don't think it would have changed you? Sorry?
I don't know. And perhaps some of the spirits that you can speak to would know, but certainly I have no particular wish to find out personally.
When I get out of here, when we all get out of here, I'm going to... Well, I do hope I can still see spirits wandering around, and that it's not just because there's so many collected over the years in this place. But I'll try talking to them outside and see if anything's different out there. I hope so.
Lillison smiles very gently and says, I'm sure many of them would have very interesting stories to tell.
Are there any in particular that you want me to try to find?
There is one, but I don't think anybody in particular would benefit from her story coming out.
Amity shivers slightly. All right then. But yeah. When we both get out, I'll tell you what they're like.
Lilson's smile widens a bit, and she says, Are there any that you wish to perhaps find and speak to again?
Amity gulps and nods. I would give a lot to be able to just talk to my sister one more time. I mean, you know that. So I hope she's still hanging around somewhere I can find her back at the farm.
I thought you might, but I didn't want to presume. There are a lot of people who... I assume there are a lot of people who would love to speak with somebody one last time, and perhaps even more people like me who would prefer never to have to.
I won't pry into your story if you don't want me to. I'm sorry. Maybe when I get out, I can make sort of a business of it. letting people connect with their loved ones.
I think there are a lot of people who would like that very much. You have a very rare gift.
I think all of us have very rare gifts. I mean, I'd never even heard of anyone like any of us before. But thank you.
Lilson smiles and nods, and then peeks over towards where Metreon is trudging.
Yeah, just at the front of the cart. Who else is pulling it with me, by the way?
Earthrendir, and he looks very unhappy about it.
Yeah, Kiva's probably pulling it as well, but not.
Ismark and Irene
equally
are
not
pitching in as
talking.
well.
Okay.
Lilson's probably pushing from the back with her all of 10 strength.
Stronger than
That's fair.
Metreon.
Yeah.
Look, if we
usually
combine our
average.
10 strength party, we can figure it out.
I've only got an 8, so it's fine.
I have 14 strength.
Woo! I love that Amity's not pushing.
Amity will push if other people are pushing.
No,
Kiva's
you
got
don't.
13, so we're fine.
Is Victor pushing?
Victor is not
What
pushing.
do you think?
Of course he's not.
Absolutely. If you like, I'll say that at one point, if anyone's curious about it, he will make a token gesture to push with a mage hand.
Yeah, thanks.
But he's
Laura.
not getting his hands dirty.
I was gonna say Kiva can glower at him until he.
Yeah, if you glower at him, he will conjure a mage hand to pull, quote unquote, the rope with you.
Yeah, he won't be able to see your face, but he'll know. He'll know. what
He
she's
gets
doing.
very bad vibes. Very bad vibes. All right. In that case, is there anything else that anyone would like to do as they are traveling down the old Svalich road? No.
Yeah.
Okay. In that case, you continue on for another, let's say an hour or so, 2 hours, at which point the daylight is beginning to turn to dusk as you slowly limp along with the wagon up to the outer gates of Alaki. And that is where we will take our break for today.
It's good to be back, y'all.
Boy.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Surprise
rock.
bird time.
I've been waiting to run that encounter for so long, you have no idea.
I mean, that was pretty intense. Just, I was very worried for Esmeralda for a moment.
Yeah, no, I did the same thing to my party where I lifted Ez's cart. It was nasty.
Like, everything in the book is just there for it. Like, the horses can't be damaged. The horses cannot be disconnected from the wagon unless the wagon itself is damaged in some way. And, like, it all just lines up so perfectly.
Man, in my game, I just flew the rock towards the party, and then the party managed to convince it to give them a ride to the Amber Temple. So.
In fairness, that's pretty awesome. That's pretty great.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, it's good to be back, y'all. We will pick this back up after a quick 15-minute break. This week featuring an adventuring interview hosted by your favorite Elven Campground Ranger, chatting with your favorite storyteller turned spiritualist. So we do hope you enjoy, and we'll be right back.
Good evening, and welcome to Adventuring Interviews. I'm your host, Earthrendir Ariel. Tonight, we're talking to one of my traveling companions. She's a magician of great skill and formidable power, a speaker with souls, and she's a soon-to-be-published author to boot. Please welcome Oriana Aelvin, otherwise known as Amity. Thank you so much for being on the show.
You're welcome. It says banter here. But aren't our lives already like 80% banter?
And 20% unimaginable horror. Yeah, let's skip it for this one. Tonight, I'll be asking you some questions about your life, your tastes, and what makes you the person you are. Do you feel ready?
Don't hold back.
Well then, let's get started. What is your idea of perfect happiness?
I'll set the scene. You're walking around an unexplored tropical island with 3 long-lasting friends. There's plump blue fruits and cute rodents, and one friend tells a joke that in the whole world only the 4 of you would ever get, and you all break down laughing, and everyone just keeps laughing together for a whole minute, because it's still funny every time you think about it.
What's your greatest fear?
That would be losing something you can't get back. Like if I lost all my new magical abilities once I left Barovia, or if I knew magic could never grow my foot back.
Are there any other fears that might be more likely to happen?
There are more likely things you can lose you can't get back. But also, I should have been home by now. I'm worried someone's going to try to find me.
Makes sense. What is the trait you most deplore in yourself?
Deplore is a strong word. What I dislike about myself, well, there's that when people around me are stressed and sad, I don't know how to help them. And second thing, I'm not sure I chose the right name for myself anymore.
What do you mean?
I mean, amity, being nice to people so they like you. It's a good thing, but it's a little shallow.
Huh. What's the trait you most deplore in others?
Selfish greed. If you're going to be evil, at least believe in something.
On what occasion do you lie?
I do sometimes tell white lies to make other people feel better. But in Barovia, though, I'll lie whenever I want. I mean, morals get a lot looser when life is on the line. Don't worry, not to you.
No, I get it. It's okay. What do you most dislike about your appearance?
The prosthetic. Don't get me wrong, it's absolutely grimcore. Plug for Blinsky. But I get phantom foot sometimes.
Oh, yeah, that's understandable. Hopefully we can find someone to have that regenerated once we're out. I'm sure our new piles of treasure can pay for something. What do you most value in your friends?
Spontaneously making fun things happen and talking about interesting things. I need friends who try to get a football game started where it's not beneath them to throw snowballs, and who talk about weird bugs or sword fighting tricks.
Oh, definitely. And, what is the quality you like most in a man?
You're fishing for compliments, aren't you?
No, not really. I want to know more about you, honestly, not just sit here and hear you flatter me, you know?
Okay. Well, if I'm gonna be with someone forever, it's important that they grow, and not just by my side, so that they can keep showing me new things. And it's important to me that we're equal. We're both doggone magically powerful, pretty accomplished. Neither of us wears the dress in the relationship. It's convenient how that's worked out.
Certainly is, especially with the dress. Oh, next to. Oh. What or who is the greatest love of your life?
Is this on the list, or do you just want me to say on the official record that I love you?
It's on the list, I promise. And, I've known you for 3 weeks. I do not presume to think that I am subsumed your life.
Okay. No worries. I mean, okay, obviously you. Sorry, Truffle, you get second place. But I guess to get more abstract, I love when people make things for the joy of making them and the joy of watching other people like them, whether it's a story or an obstacle course or anything.
Definitely. When and where were you happiest?
When I was young, my parents brought me to the Great Wash, and I was like, "Hi, I'm Oriana," and everyone else was like, "Hi, Oriana," and it's silly. It's probably not the most happy I've ever been, but just getting immediately and enthusiastically welcomed into a close-knit group of friends. Thinking about it sometimes makes me tear up a little.
Well, if you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be?
Twice as big tail.
Excellent choice.
I know. I I'd like to be one of those people who can point at a flower and say, "That's a Queen Myrtle's underwear. Did you know you can pull them up and eat them like a carrot?" And knows all these cool facts about birds and architecture and alchemy and stuff.
Oh, definitely. I love that sort of esoterica. It's wonderful. Oh, speaking of esoterica, if you were to die and come back as a person or a thing, what would it be?
I used to think turtle, but something bigger now.
How much bigger?
A dragon. Big red one.
Ooh, what's that?
Because red's the best color. Oh, you mean the dragon part. Well, before Barovia, I never really pictured myself as becoming something big. Like, leaving North Keyway to become a published author, that level of ambition already made me uncomfortable sometimes, and scared. But now the grandeur of being something amazing, it's addicting.
Well, this one's a bit of a come down from the last one, unfortunately. How'd you like to die?
Is it cheating to say never?
Afraid so. Lilson asked the same thing.
Well, not in my sleep. Nothing I can see coming. Somehow it's almost comforting if I see a big explosion over the horizon, and in a second, it destroys the entire world.
No, I definitely get that. You don't want to just sit there and watch as time squeezes his hand around your throat. Sorry about that. Why don't we go on to the next one? So, I'm doing a round of word association, okay? I want you to pick the first thing that comes to your mind when I say one of the following names. Don't screen it, just let it happen. Kiva.
Titania.
Metreon?
Hamlet.
Lillison?
Rapunzel. But cool.
Earthrendir.
Scheherazade?
Amity.
Into the Woods, which I highly recommend, by the way.
Strahd.
It's a good life.
I'm sorry?
It's a short story. Tell your readers to look it up.
I will. So, one last question, which is not on the list. You said before that you're not sure that Amity is the right name for you anymore. What do you think the right name is?
Oh, I'm not ready to answer this. I've been listing words out, like generous and moxie and passion. They get halfway to what I want, but I haven't found it. I don't even know exactly what is I want yet. Remind me to look through faction-based dystopian teen novels for better adjectives.
Certainly. So a lot of those seem a little unwieldy.
True. The worst thing is, even if I find the perfect word, like molistic, that just rings truth, I mean, that's a terrible name, right?
Maybe, but Molly might suit you.
That's not wrong.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
You are welcome.
And you can get Aelvin's Book of New Folk Tales. Well, it may or may not be on sale next summer. But if it is, it may be obtained via mail order to Basalt's Books in northeastern Daggerford, or in all places fine stories are sold. And until next time, dear listeners, stay safe and take care.
My friends, it is I, Count Strahd von Zarovich, and I bid thee listen. The Guild of the Black Crow have produced over 5 hours of ambient sound design for my most beautiful and ancient land. As used by Twice Bitten, these ambient backgrounds include my most private and intimate of letters, as well as bonus tracks not found in the Dungeon Master's handbook. So, hear me now. I guarantee you safe passage to their camp. Support them, and perhaps we shall meet sooner than you think.
Curse of Strahd, Twice Bitten, is proud to be sponsored by Foundry VTT, The Forge, and Benios Battle Maps. If you're looking for a self-hosted, modern, feature-rich virtual tabletop for your D&D or other TTRPG games, make sure to check out Foundry Virtual Tabletop, a one-time purchase software that lets your players connect and play for free. If low-effort automation, a gorgeous, user-friendly interface, and an endless library of additional features sound up your alley, make sure to check out Foundry at foundryvtt.com. If you're looking to host your Foundry VTT game in the cloud, make sure to also check out The Forge, a no-hassle RPG platform that's uniquely integrated with Foundry VTT. Manage your games online efficiently and easily, and stay focused on being a great dungeon master instead of spending precious preparation time managing local servers. Check them out at forge-vtt.com. Finally, if you're running a Curse of Strahd campaign of your own, make sure to check out Benios Battle Maps, a creator of high-quality, animated 3D battle maps and tokens for your D&D game. Become a patron at patreon.com/BeniosBattleMaps to receive animated battle maps for Death House, Argynvostolt, and a full render of Castle Ravenloft, complete with built-in sound effects, scene handouts, and a full automatic Foundry integration. To see Benios' Ravenloft maps in action, make sure to watch Twice Bitten's climactic finale, as our heroes delve into the depths of Strahd's lair.
Hey y'all, Serena here. If you like what you're watching, you can scroll down the page a little bit and hit the subscribe button, as well as the bell to stay notified for when our next episode goes live. You can also click through to our channel to watch all of our past sessions, fireside chats, and highlights from the stream. If you want to stay connected with us, you can do so via our Reddit, reddit.com/r/TwiceBittenDND, or our Twitter page at TwiceBittenCOS, or by good old-fashioned email, twicebittencos@gmail.com.
And welcome back, everyone. So, with our party of companions and unlikely heroes making their way down the old Svalich road with the shuddering, mostly broken but somewhat functional wagon dragged behind them on ropes as the skies overhead begin to darken, you arrive just outside the outskirts of the small town of Valaki. As you approach the gates, you see Casimir flinch slightly, pulling his hood further over his face to make sure that it's fully in shadow. The sky is slightly darkening as you see in the distance the great slope of Mount Baratok towering over the lake to the north. As you approach the gates, is there anything you would like to do?
I will take a moment out of view of the gates, or anyone at the gates, to peel off my skin and become the Valachian milkmaid.
Okay,
Kiva
very good.
also takes the time to tuck herself fully under the cloak, keep her arms at her sides, that sort of thing, and just make sure that no part of her normally exposed skin is now visible.
Okay. In that case, you approach the gates, the guards giving you a few odd looks, given that you look much glitzier than when you departed. It's been a few days, but nonetheless, you are able to enter into the town without issue and pass once more onto the streets of this small, dreary town. I presume you're heading to the Blue Water Inn?
Please.
Yes.
Okay. You travel along the roads, getting a number of odd glances. Some confused, some slightly afraid, some looking somewhat greedy at the sound of the clinking coins and whatever else is rattling around inside of the wagon. But nonetheless, you do manage to make it to the outskirts of the Blue Water Inn. You can see a faint spiral of smoke coming forth from the chimney, a few ravens perched atop the roof, and several familiar silhouettes moving through the warmly lit interior across the windows.
Yeah, I guess we try to park the wagon where we usually park it.
We might need to bring some stuff in, because otherwise it's just an open-fronted wagon full of gold.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Should
In
be
case
fine.
you'd like to tally up the damages, I presume someone is keeping track of this. Due to the fallen front half and the 4 pots you lost, you have lost 1/3 of anything that was in the wagon.
Okay.
All right. But nonetheless, the wagon shudders to a halt, and the door opens of the inn as you approach, and you see Erwin poke his head out. His eyes widen. Goodness, you look like you've... What on earth happened to... The guy looks at the wagon.
Things have happened.
It's
Right.
a long story.
Right, well, let's get you inside and get you cleaned up and properly fed, and we can go from there. Yes?
Bless you, Erwin.
Not a problem. Adrian, put something on the fire, right? We've got guests for dinner. And he ushers you inside and begins helping you take your things in.
And as he does, and as he's like trying to take Erthrendir's robe, he kind of mutters something to himself and then reaches onto the side of it and peels something off. And suddenly there's a jingling bag of coin in his hands, which he just passes to Erwin. Here.
Erwin, what? I couldn't. Where did you get this? This is
magic. That's actually not even 100th of the treasure we've came into. Call this for dinner.
He sputters for a moment and then says somewhat wryly, just kind of offering you a hopeless grin. I presume you're not going to allow me to say no to this.
I've already taken the patch off. I can't put it back on.
Very well then. Thank you. And
sure.
He gives you a nod and accepts it, tucking it away in his cloak.
Excellent. That's 100 gold. So,
all right. He gives Kiva and Casimir somewhat searching looks, not quite able to see in the shadows below their cloaks. I presume they still have the hoods up? Casimir certainly does.
Yeah, Kiva definitely has the hood up.
Gotcha. So he just kind of doesn't pay you that much mind, helps you inside. If you'd like him to help with anything else, he's happy to. But as you enter, you see in the room beyond a somewhat cheery assembly of assorted Mardukavs. You see Brahmin Bray shouting loudly, seem to be happily fighting over some kind of toy in the corner with two of their cousins. Off into another corner, you see Danica chatting quietly with a dag, and there's just kind of a quiet bustle of activity, though the inn, as you've sadly noticed, is completely bereft of patrons once more.
Is Yeska among them?
Yeska does not appear to be among them at first sight, and then you blink and you kind of look off to the side and you see him sitting very shyly on a stool next to the other children. He doesn't seem to be participating in the fight, but he seems to be there, and he's not wearing the mask.
Is he engaged in any way? Like, even if just like watching them, or is he just kind of like? Does he look like a awkward, lonely kid just sitting on a stool?
A little awkward, a little lonely. Like he's sitting next to the others, but he doesn't seem to really be participating. But they don't seem to be, bearing him any sort of, hostile will. He just doesn't seem to be speaking up. They're kind of fixated on their own little world.
Oh, relatable. Yeah, Metron is actually going to go ahead and break away from the others and go sit next to Yeska.
Before he does, Aerith taps him on the shoulder and just sort of slips him something. And he would see it's one of the copies of Snow White and the Seven Dwarves that they got from the Amber Temple, which he just kind of presses into his hand and walks away.
Yeah, he looks at it and flips through a couple pages. He doesn't want to give it to him because he thinks that anything in that temple is cursed, but also looking back at Yeska and seeing how relatably lonely he is, or appears to be, closes the book and continues to head over to him.
Okay, well, Metron is doing that. What's everyone else doing?
Aerith is... go ahead.
Sure. Amity's going up to Esmeralda and saying, now that we've got so much treasure, I was wondering, given that Vistani can leave Barovia, if we could maybe... If I could maybe pay someone to send a letter.
Esmeralda looks thoughtful for a moment, her expression softening a bit. She sighs. I wager that, well, I don't mention that you would find many, especially with the treasure we have come into now, who would turn you down for that. But at the same time, given the loyalties of Summons Valley, I cannot guarantee that your letter might not be read by our friend in the castle before it reaches its destination.
Oh. All right. Well, thanks anyway.
Of course, I'm sorry. It's a difficult situation, but look, and she kind of puts a hand on your shoulder. We're going to get out of this. We're going to kill that fucker, and we're going to ride out into the sunset. All right? You're going to tell them yourselves.
Amity has a completely stoic look as she responds. Yeah, I know we will.
She nods and sets off, moving away to speak to Erwin about something. What's everyone else doing? Lilison, Earthrendir?
Aerith, looking back at the wagon and sort of in a way that suggests he is very nervous about leaving it out there, is going to kind of look over to Danica and mutter, odd question, but can we use your attic for the night? There's some things we might need to store.
She nods. Oh, yes, of course, that wouldn't be a problem. I
right.
was actually going to ask anyway. We don't have over much room, but I presumed that given everything that's going on, you might want some privacy, of course.
That would be nice. And then he looks
See to
over
it that
to...
it's prepared to make it comfortable.
Thanks. And then he looks over to Brom and Bray. Hey, boys, y'all want to help me bring in some treasure?
They exchange glances. Treasure? Like
Yep.
gold and...
Well,
They
you'll have to
exchange
come see,
looks,
won't you?
eyes wide, and just immediately leap to their feet and rush ahead of you.
Now, don't be talking much about it. We got to do this quietly. As he just laughs.
They're
and runs
already
out.
gone, and as soon as they reach the wagon, you hear shrieks of delight.
I'm gonna go manage what I've started, and he's going to go running after them and start bringing stuff into the inn.
All right. Anything that Lilson would like to be doing?
Lilson is keeping a wary eye on Victor. What is Victor doing?
He is keeping to himself. He's keeping the cloak up. He's trying not to meet anyone's eyes. He's just kind of standing awkwardly by the door.
She is going to sidle up to him and say, "So, how terrible was it, really?"
It was not very enjoyable. I don't think I would like to hazard living in such conditions by myself again for some time. I appreciate what Earthrendir was attempting to share with me, but I think I prefer not living in the wilderness, probably.
Quite sensible. Well, as he has hinted already, we are only going to be staying here for a night, maybe 2 more. What are your plans after that?
He swallows. I don't know. I had a lot of time to think in the tower, and I sort of entertained ideas of, taking... I don't know, I've read in books of, mages and great thieves and such that took vengeance on those that had wronged their families, but it seems so... I never liked that blasted manor anyway. I just wanted to find some way to get out of this blasted place. And, well, I can't say that I'm overly confident in your ability to kill the devil in Castle Ravenloft, and he kind of shudders a little bit. But if somehow you're able to do it, then I think I would like to find some way out of the valley without faulty teleportation circles.
She's just nodding slowly.
And not least because I lost all of my materials and the circle that I've been working on when the place burned down.
Well.
I've heard about, mages and some sort. Surely there'd be someone who might need a partner or something, someone that I could acquire resources. I don't know how this works.
Well, and if we fail to do so?
He pales visibly, which is difficult for him to do considering that he's already extremely pale. I would prefer not to think about that.
Now is the time to think about that, because we are departing very shortly. And I have no idea whether or not you have any sort of predilection to try to help us, but If you don't, which
I-
is
I-
entirely reasonable, then you're going to have to think about the consequences of our actions.
He puts both hands up. Look, I don't know what the hells you've been doing up in the mountains or whatever, but I'm no bloody hero. I just know books, okay? I think if I would like to stay here very much. Nothing against you. I just you do lot of fighters and warriors and all that stuff. I would prefer not to die with a vampire's fangs in my neck, thank you. I'll figure something out.
When we came here a few weeks ago, we were not what we are now. And you are more powerful in some ways than any of us. But I understand. If you wish to stay here.
He nods, swallowing. They seem like, well, I don't have much experience in taverns, and his nose wrinkles very faintly, but I imagine I could find some way. They seem to not be magic folk, any of them. I'm sure that I could find my way here.
Lillison nods and sort of leans slightly away from him as she says, "You'll have some time to think about what happens if nothing changes."
He nods, looking somewhat shaky, and just kind of looks down at the floor.
Lillison nods at him and then heads outside and just sort of leans against the outer wall, watching the little procession of Brahmin Bray and Erthrindir bringing in treasure.
Okay, and as that happens, Metron, you see Yeska sitting quite alone at the table in the corner.
Yeah, I look around, make sure nothing unseemly is around us, and yeah, I'll take a seat next to him.
All right. He doesn't quite meet your eyes, but you hear him whispering very faintly. So you did come back.
A little shocked that he speaks now. Metron blinks a bit, does the whole white guy blinking gif, and then looking back at Yeska. Yeah, I mean, that was the goal. That's what I was hoping to do. How you holding up here?
I'm good. I think they're nice. They're good.
Yeah, they seems like good people. They always done right by us. I'm glad they're doing right by you. Why ain't run out with them to go check out the treasure?
I don't know. I think I want to, but he looks quiet for a moment. How do you know if someone is your friend?
Metron is arrested by that. Quiet and looks back at the others and sees Kiva in the cloak and Erthrindir not there, and Lillison talking to Victor, and turns back to Yeska. I'm still trying to figure that out myself. But I guess it's when you feel safe around him. But you should always keep your guard up, just a little bit, not too much, just enough that you can make it out if something happens, And you like the boys, they seems all right, and the Mordecai's, the rest of them, they ain't done no wrong by us. And I don't know if they're friends, but they're friendly. And sometimes that's the best you can hope for.
Yiska nods quietly. But he he told me that he had a sword, and if anyone came to try and get me again, that he would stab them. I'm pretty sure it's just a kitchen knife that he stole, but I think I might feel safe with them.
Good. I'm glad you do. Hey, listen, I got this when I was out. I'm not going to read it, but maybe you might like it. And passes over the copy of the book.
Which book is this?
The one from the temple, the snow dwarf and the seven whites.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I guess accept it. Kind of looks over the title. I don't think I've read this one. I know that he always used to. That he kind of chokes up a little bit. And then he hugs the book to his chest, sniffling very quietly. He used to read them to me. Like this.
Yeah. Well, you gotta read on your own sometime, right?
He nods and offers you a small smile. Right.
I mean, he's
I
with
think you're
you.
good too. Just so you know.
What? I'm sorry. What? What?
Well, I guess from the way that you said, are you my friend?
Well, I mean, I guess I hope I am. I don't want to see nothing bad happen to you.
He nods. Okay, that's good. Then he turns back and just kind of puts the book down on the table and just kind of looks at it, keeping one hand on it, and just looks lost in thought.
Hey, listen.
But there's a small smile on his face now.
As long as I'm here, and I'm not going to be here forever, hopefully, but as long as I'm here, I'm going to do whatever I can to keep you safe, all right? And if I'm not here, you got the mother cops. They're going to keep you safe, and they're real good at doing that. They did it for us, and we're still here. If you need anything else, and I'm around, you can always try to ask, and I might have it, I might not. Well, I'll try.
He nods. And he doesn't look completely at peace, but for the moment, he looks content.
Well, you keep out of trouble then. You read the story, maybe won't go back. You read enough, you could give me the synopsis of it. You know what a synopsis is?
He tilts his head up quizzically toward you.
Right, it's like a summary of the book. I'm not big on reading, but I'm fine if people tell me what the book's about, and then maybe I'll be more interested in it, or at least entertained.
He just nods and then smiles very faintly. Right, I'll tell you what it's about when I finish.
Thanks. And Metreon looks away, looking for an exit to run and scream out of. But does he see Danica around?
Danica is currently behind the bar.
He pats Jessica on the shoulder. Oh, I'll be back. And I'll go up to the bar.
She seems to be rummaging through a few things on one of the shelves underneath the top of the counter. But as she hears your footsteps, she kind of peers over the top of it. One moment, I'll be right with you in a second. But whatever you're saying, I'm listening.
Yeah, no, love. I was just, I know you use short on the wine. You ain't got no more yet, or?
There are several clattering of what sounds like, wooden tankards and some bowls and some other things. She kind of pokes her head up over the top and sighs, leaning one elbow on the counter and planting her fist in her palm. Look, I'm I haven't gotten the chance to see it myself, but I'm sure you saw as well. From the sound of it, the winery's pretty well smashed up. I know that we have the gem back right now, but hopefully someday we can rebuild. But right now, I think we need to gather ourselves together and pitch in where we can. I don't know if we'll be ready to help out put up a new place yet. And she kind of eyes Davian somewhat warily and sighs, or if our help would necessarily be appreciated.
Right, yeah, it's okay. Just awkwardly kind of drums on the bar counter with his fingers and starts to drift off.
Okay. As Metron drifts away, Erthrindir, you and the lads finish unloading the wagon.
Excellent.
And you see Lillison standing outside of the door as you finish.
Aerith will facilitate to make sure that all of the treasure actually gets inside and is not kind of oohed and awed over before patting Brahmin Bray on the head and ushering them in, and then shutting the door. Even?
Evening.
His face is guarded, but not... It's very carefully neutral.
Well, I know you have a lot that you're probably itching to express.
You're not wrong.
Do you want to start, or shall I?
Would it help?
I think it would help you.
Aerith kind of settles down next to the front of the inn, like getting comfortable. I wish I could still trust you.
Lillison kind of shrugs in a, inviting, go on sort of gesture.
I can't tell you that the horrors of death are not worth getting away from. Not with your lifespan, not with what you've been through. But to become a vampire, become what's been making our lives hell for a month now. It's hard to reconcile with the person I loved.
You know
That's not
that he chose to be what he is now. That he was the sort of person even before.
But from what I know about vampires, being able to become one, facilitates on your ability to make that choice. Or am I wrong?
I learned what he had to do, what he had to go through in order to make this choice. Would you like to know what it is?
I would.
First, to kill somebody who loves or reveres you and drink their blood within an hour of their death. And second, to be killed by somebody who hates you.
Aerith's mouth is open and just a mix of shock and horror. And he takes a moment to recover before saying, So, is there a time limit on that, or is it just the doors open when you want to do that?
As far as I can tell, the door is just open.
Great. Well,
He is the sort of person who could and did do that. It is unclear if I am.
if it were unclear, I don't think you would have made the choice to take it.
I didn't know about these conditions until after I agreed.
One last insight check.
Go for it.
8. You never could read you.
Well, I'm not rolling deception because that is in fact the truth.
He takes a long moment. You might be telling the truth. You know, I couldn't tell. But that's fair enough, I suppose. I suppose I never thought that you were going to, like, turn on us in the final battle or anything. That's not the fear. I know you too well. I don't think you'd do that. Not unless there were no other choice. But I was hoping that after this, that you'd get to be, that you'd be somebody I could spend my life with in some respects. It sounds like you're going down a path that I can't follow.
Lillison's brow creases a bit, and she says, "You know that." And then she stops and looks around. I'm going to try to see if I can spot any little eavesdroppers anywhere nearby.
Aerith will join you.
Perception check. The both of you.
7.
12.
12. Lillison, you do not see anything, but Earthrendir, you just barely see, hanging from the opposite eave of one of the buildings on the other side, a small black bat watching quietly, which also appears to have something held in its mouth.
Aerith raises his wand and uses his last spell of the day to strike it dead with a magic missile.
Okay. The streaks of magical force arc through the air, smashing the bat, pulverizing it to pieces. It lets out a single chitter and then falls to the ground bloodied, as does the object that it was carrying in its mouth.
Aerith walks over and picks it up.
Lillison starts forward, holding out her hand.
May I?
If you wish, it is the answer, I assume, to the question I asked some time ago.
Aerith nods, checking for any other bats, and then unfurls it.
Okay. If you would like to check the handouts folder of your handouts tab in Foundry, it is Strahd's answer.
The land of Barovia has need of the wisdom of its elders and the strength of its youth. Should the old raven, the scarred mage, or the burgomaster of Barovia accompany your party to dine, know that they are uninvited, and that the penalty for trespassing is grave. You may assist me by ensuring their opportunity to continue serving their countrymen beyond the walls of this keep.
Certainly not the answer I was hoping for.
You were asking about Bismarck and Kaz and Davian then?
Not specifically, although it is curious he doesn't mention Ez.
That is odd. Well, should we tell them?
Probably, but not urgently, I think.
Yeah, I don't think we're leaving tomorrow. And Aerith hands it to her, and it's with a gentler hand.
She nods, takes it, glances over it for a moment, and then tucks it away. And she says, "As I was saying, you know, he offered me immortality as well, of a sort.
I do.
It was almost certainly always going to be a false promise.
But there was the choice.
There was the choice. And for a few very, very terrified hours, I thought it might be the only choice.
This is to ensure that he can't have that power over you.
One of the reasons, yes, perhaps.
And he'd prefer not to die, I assume.
Yes.
Aerith laughs a bit hollowly, looking out into the cloudy sky. Well, I mean, I don't know what to say, frankly. I guess it'd be, I hope you never make that choice. But I guess you're right. I don't get to judge people on choices they might become.
She gives him a long, long look, and then, leaning back, casually looking away, she says, "So, wizardry."
He snorts. Well, what about it?
Would the Earthrendir of 3 weeks ago judge you harshly on the choices you did make?
Aerith breathes out, as if sort of checking for anyone listening. And then from his pack, he pulls Nephron's spellbook, which you can see he's slotted the half-burnt pages of his own, like sort of loose-leaf binder style, into the front. He would. And he'd be right. I don't relish this. I'm trying to look at it from utilitarianism, that I'm just doing what's needed to keep myself alive, but keep all of you alive, but that's scant comfort sometimes. It is a necessary tool. It is not one I relish wielding. And it's one I hope to God I can forget after this is done. Even if what I've wrought with it remains.
Well, I think we understand each other very well, then.
How so?
The words that just came out of your mouth, Earthrendir.
Yes? I'm listening.
The gift, if we can call it a gift, that I received. I don't intend, at the moment, to pursue using it. And perhaps once we have successfully left this place, perhaps over time I can get to a place where fire and death are no longer a shadow blotting out so many of my thoughts.
I hope so too. And I hope when we leave here that I can start to forgive myself for what I've had to do. Don't think I get that lucky though. Do you? And then he kind of looks over at her curiously. I'm not sure what impression I've given, but why do you think I paid Arcana?
Why do I think what?
Wizardry. That all this we're dancing around, the burden of power and of horror. Why do you think I don't use it? Or don't want to?
I would guess something about the war. Something about those mind-controlling magics you hate so much to see others use.
Got in one. Well, one half. The mind control's a different story and not one I relish telling. But I can tell this one if you want.
If it would help you to tell it, certainly.
It might to somebody I know who has enough secrets of her own. And Aerith pulls out his wand, sort of spinning it between his fingers as he looks over at Lillison. His gaze is far away now. And when he speaks, it's as a storyteller, not as Aerith. It was about 90 years ago now, when about 10 years after Ostra fell. My family and I had just settled back down, finally found somewhere after years of traveling and running, and started to pick up the pieces of our lives. And into all of that, I told you about my mentor, right? About Kristoff.
You said that each day he would only use magic to light and extinguish his fire?
That's the one, old bastard. Well, during the war, that bit changed, as you might imagine, and it became rare that he was doing anything but using his magic. He'd wake up in the morning and cast a teleport spell to get people out of the city and spend the rest of the day alternating between teleportation circles and just healing every soldier he could get his hands on. Still remember that one time a Thayan wizard's fly spell ran out and he crashed down in the middle of the city and was screaming bloody murder as Kristoff knelt down and killed him too and just walked away. Don't know what happened to him after that. But that's not the point. We'd all assumed he was dead when Ostra fell. Nobody had seen him for about a decade, and the assumption was that he got caught in the last stand for the city and just got overwhelmed. So imagine my surprise when 50-year-old Erthrindir opens his door one morning to see him standing outside. Lillison, it was like the sun and the stars had come out after a year of storm. I'd missed him so much. And he told me he wanted to resume our schooling too, that he wanted to teach me everything he knew, finish my tutoring in bardic magic, teach me all he knew about Offstra, about its history, its people, its culture. It's gonna be wonderful. I had something to look forward to again, something to fight for again. But it didn't last. Aerith is gripping his wand so hard it looks like it might snap. And as he's talking, he is ritual casting Silent Image. And at this moment, an image of a tall, light-skinned elven man appears. Blonde hair, with blonde hair and a shaggy, patchy sort of beard, and the sort of smile that's disarming and a bit mischievous as he kind of gestures to him. And so, he started teaching me. And for the next 5 years, I learned nothing but magic and history and every iota of knowledge he had in his head. It wasn't like the old times, though. Listen, I used to love learning because he always tried to make things fun and made sure that, I was growing as a person. He rarely cared about all that, but now it was just water being poured into a vase over and over.
Was it that he didn't care, or was it that he was trying to give it all to you as fast as possible?
The latter. It was desperate. It was desperate, Lawson. Like, he just needed to make sure that somebody knew. So I devoted myself to work. You'd sympathize, I'm sure. Buried myself in books and study and endless repetition. And by the end of it, I was so full. I knew the theory for spells up to 7th level that I had no prayer of casting. I knew every bit of the noble lineages of Offstra, every bit of our history that he had ever known. Had a teetering pile of books in the little bedroom I stayed in. I was so happy. And then, and you see he's crying. And then we had our last lesson together. And he did something strange. I just finished a really tricky spell, one that some people 3 centuries from me probably couldn't figure out. And once he saw that I have the motion down, he just reached down and hugged me, which was weird because it's not that kind of person, He's like Metreon. That's not how he showed affection. And he just thanked me profusely, and I didn't get it. I still don't. And then he sent me home for the day. And the next day, they found him floating in the river.
Lillison doesn't look particularly shocked. She is listening with this sort of quiet expression, and after waiting for another moment, she steps forward, puts her arms around Erthrindir, and instead of like this sort of gentle, tentative hugs that she's given before, she actually wraps her arms around him and leans in.
And everyone always says I don't have that I don't owe it to anything, to anyone. That just because I have power, that I have knowledge, that I've got it, that it's not mine. But there's nobody else, Lilith. No one else cares. And the person that did left me here with it. To sit here and drown.
Earthren, dear.
Yeah.
Is this why you have been writing all of it down?
He doesn't speak, but he nods.
I can understand very, very well Kristoff's need to find somebody to hold the knowledge, to know that he was not letting anything be lost forever except for himself.
Yeah.
You do not get to just commit it to paper.
What do you mean? I tried, Lawson. I tried for years. I went to college. I did what I needed to do. I talked to all the historians. I went to the conferences. I smiled. I did what I had to. Nobody cares. I'm one tragedy among 1,000. Hell, the Dusk Elves, the folks we met right here, they have as much tragedy, another, that I could carry if I wanted to. There's not enough space in the world for that much grief. Or folks don't want to make it.
I care.
Earthrendeer's going to roll insight.
Go ahead.
I know. $17.
You get the sense that Lillison is discovering this as she is saying it.
Oh. There's a long moment, and then Aerith just breaks down in her arms, hugging her back fiercely, probably a bit too hard until he realizes and kind of moderates his grip. God. I picked a good time for it, huh? Right before I go off to die. I'm sorry, but thank you.
Do you think that if, do you think that if Amity called for him, he would come back?
I don't know. I'm scared to find out. The soul's gotta consent for that sort of thing. And he might not want to be back here anymore.
Even just to talk?
I don't know. Suppose there's no harm in asking, right? At least if I get a no, then all know he's happy. Often Celestia are in the new bodies found.
She smiles a little bit, but her gaze is off in the distance now, towards the castle.
Aerith pulls his face out of her shoulder and meets it. And that. Now I think you've got something on your mind. Penny, for your thoughts?
There's a lot that hinges on getting out of here alive.
Sure is. But we are. And if we aren't, then we make sure that we give it the best try we could.
Lillison nods, and then she pulls out the note from Strahd and glances over it.
We tell them, right?
We have to tell them.
They'll come anyway.
I'm sure they will.
What a bunch of idiots we all are. Wouldn't have it any other way, I suppose. You want to go inside?
Suppose we should.
And yeah, he pulls himself to his... And then he kind of thinks of something. Before I go. And he reaches into his backpack and hands her a letter. On the off chance that you come back and I don't, make sure that gets to everybody, okay?
She blinks down at the letter and turns it over. Is there, a salutation written on it?
There is. In the event of my untimely demise.
Lillison nods slowly. All right.
A lot of pressure, but I believe in you.
Mostly I'm trying to figure out how to make sure that this doesn't get burned up at any point.
I found a few layers of fireproof cloth, a nice thick cloak or something really helps with if you're trying to protect something like that on the road.
If you have been holding on to fireproof cloth this entire time and you have not told me about it.
I might have.
Aerith, dear.
Yes?
She kind of playfully swats his shoulder.
Ow! God, you hit harder than you... Alright, I'll go get it. Come on. And that, I think, is the end of that conversation.
Yep, Lillison, smiling bemusedly, is going to follow him back in.
Okay, and as this conversation goes on inside, the others still remain. Amity, what have you been up to?
Indeed. Amity has a question for someone. And so she is going to cast Sending to ask Van Richten. Top secret info. Tomorrow is D-Day. Final tips? Also, you showing? I know there's personal friction, but don't know if you ever see a better shot.
Okay. There is a moment before you receive a response. And then you hear back, "Sorry, but I work alone. Just remember, he is not a soldier. He is a predator. And predators can only devour their prey when they leap from the shadows. Keep her safe. I will see you on the other side. And then the connection ends.
Okay. Amity will relay this, however vague it is, to her friends. He wasn't specific about where he'd be, which I guess maybe it's smart of him. Doesn't want anyone to know.
Okay. Metron, I presume you hear that from Amity.
Yeah, no, it's real good, Pet. Yeah, I wasn't expecting much out of him, but at least that scroll has came in handy.
Me neither. I need something to distract myself from all this. Amity looks for some tavern card game or something to play. Just to take
you
her
actually
mind.
do find Dag, Adrian, and Danica putting together some sort of card game. So I'd say you can join them pretty easily.
Perfect.
Beautiful. So while that happens, Amity, as you bid farewell to Metreon, and go join the gameplay. Metreon, there is a tap at your shoulder.
Oh, well, what?
Turning around, you see Davian wearing his dark green cloak, standing just behind you a little bit awkwardly. He clears his throat. Right, you mind grabbing a seat? Want to ask you something.
Right, yeah, sure. And you can clearly see that Metreon is feels a little bit blindsided by the fact that this is happening. He doesn't understand why Davian is being, or is even engaging with him, but he'll follow Davian to wherever they see it.
All right. You grab a seat with Davian at an empty table just off to the side of one of the windows. Outside, you can see the darkening street of Valaki as the avenue slowly empty. Davian rubs his temples and just leans forward, looking tired. Right, so look, I don't know any of you too well, but from what I've been hearing, there's something going on with you. You specifically. I keep hearing things about angels and you keep healing folks. Are you some kind of priest of the Morning Lord or what?
If I know, I mean, listen, I'm wrapped up in forces I don't even quite understand, but at least when I got this, and he kind of gestures in a way of like pointing to his aura that's not visible right now. When I got it, it was thanks to Father Lucian over at the church, and he had with him a companion. Said she was an angel, looked like one too. I mean, big golden wings, fiery hair, all that.
He snorts, but there's something thoughtful in his eyes. I never knew the priest in here. Never really made my way into town while he was alive. Almost ashamed that. Seemed, from what I heard, he was a good man. Maybe could have answered some questions. He frowns. I know you said that you're not wrapped in a lot of this, but you spoke with him. You've got an angel talking to you. You've got you've had this priest. I've never been much for religion, chanting, all that stuff. I tend to put my trust in dotier things, but although that morning Lord set new sunrise is all that. That's the big tagline that I keep hearing. They ever say things about turning over a new leaf with someone?
Maybe. I'm not super familiar with his teachings myself. Presumably. I mean, I've heard things like that with, what's his face, Lathander over in Waterdeep. And realizing Davian doesn't know what Waterdeep is. Just someone, a god from where I come from.
Right. He looks kind of glumly out the window. I guess it might be easier then if you had friends on high. What the hell do you even bloody do if you're going to apologize to someone?
I'm not sure what you're getting at.
I ain't sure either. All I know is I think there's an apology I need to make. I don't got a fucking clue how to say it. Thought someone who consorted as angels might know something, a little thing or two about all that, but I mean, look at me. I ain't no fucking saint over here. Especially when he's the fucker that did me wrong in the first place. How am I supposed to apologize?
Birds of a feather and all that. I don't know. And when he says, I don't know, Metreon turns his eyes towards Kiva, who's still presumably cloaked and hooded, and then goes back to looking at Davian. Maybe it's like, a wound dressing. You just gotta change it. Sometimes it's painful. Sometimes you gotta get the gauze out of where we get cut and replace it. It's not comfortable, but I guess it's the only way to heal.
That's a good way of putting it. You sure you ain't some kind of priestly healer? Nothing like that? Because if you're just making it up as you go, you ain't half bad at it.
Yeah, no.
I mean, I can tell it's bullshit, but it's good bullshit.
Yeah, no, I'm making this up. I'm not wise enough to be no cleric or nothing. I just working off experience here. I've taken some bad deals and done some wrong things, and still figuring it out myself.
I suppose that's fair. I guess at the end of the day, it's we all fucked up, ain't we? Best we could do is find some folks that are as fucked up as we are. At the very least, try to make things good with the ones who ain't.
Yeah, we should probably do that before we go to you know where.
Don't remind me. I've been trying to avoid turning over my thoughts for the past few days, but he sighs again. If I'm gonna go throw my life away in a dark fucking castle, I reckon I don't want to leave too many scars behind if I can help it. Would you say tear off the dressing, let the wound heal?
Right, yeah, and change it.
He looks down at the table mournfully. God, I wish I had some fucking wine. I'll have to do this sober.
Yeah, it's a real pain right now.
So it is. Alright then. And he stands up, pushing his chair away with a creak against the floor and claps a hand on your shoulder. Right, you go do your angel things or whatever. I got that conversation I need to think about. We'll talk later.
Yeah, right. Yeah, cheers, thanks a lot. And just kind of slaps him on the shoulder.
He nods and steps away, leaving you behind at the table.
Yeah, as he steps away, he watches him walk away and walk past near where Kiva is, and he keeps his eyes on Kiva. Doesn't say anything, but it's just sort of looking at her, almost as if to try and either get her attention or to just keep a watch of her.
Yeah, Kiva is sort of like sitting silently, and then will look over and sort of catch your eye.
He doesn't. There's not like a wink or like a nudge to come over, but there's definitely like this like. The best way I can describe it is like the watery, pleading face emoji eyes.
Yeah, Kiva will see that and just get up and slowly make her way over.
Hi.
Hey, everything all right?
Yeah, can we go upstairs?
Kiva nods and just sort of motions in front of her, just like lead the way.
Yeah, he'll get up and start to walk towards the outside and leading up to the stairs to the other rooms, and just sitting at the top of the steps, still sort of like keeping a view of the parking lot, for lack of a better term, so to speak. But yeah, he just sits down on the top of the steps.
Once they are suitably alone, Kiva will pull her hood back, not off, but just back a little bit, so that he can sort of see the general shape of her face, because she also remembers his sort of discomfort reaction, just as a more of a like, I'm here, thing.
Yeah, he definitely winces a bit, but you could tell that he's trying not to look at you.
It's pretty ghastly. I caught sight of myself in the washroom, and not my best.
I'm not going to ask why you did it, because I know why you did it. I guess I don't know. A part of me thought I could. I hate saying this. A part of me thought I could really trust you all to not make the same stupid mistakes that I'm doing. You saw how it was, how I took those deals, and what happened to me. Thankfully, I'm maybe in a better place, but this place, this Barovia, might fuck that over too. Just the way the things are here. I just don't feel I can trust you right now, or anyone for that matter, and I hate it. And I'm trying not to be a sad sap about it. I know this is what we got to do. I just wish I had you back. I was actually I was thinking about, and you start to see him rifle through his satchel. He pulls out a little pot of ink. Maybe it's just one last token. I was gonna offer to give y'all some tattoos if you wanted them. I like giving them. But, and he looks at you finally, like for the first time, fully. I don't even know if I could tattoo dead skin.
Kiva doesn't really show any sort of visible response. She does tense up when you mention not being able to trust her. And in a way that's like, I'm trying not to recoil from that. And just trying to stand as firm as she can, hearing that. She just sort of holds out her hand in the light. It's very much like that scene in Pirates of the Caribbean when Jack Sparrow is sort of like examining his hand in the moonlight once he has the coin. And she pulls it back eventually, and she's like, it's funny, I thought all of me would be dead, but I still bleed like I did. I still feel pain and cold and heat. And I can feel... And she sort of like sticks a finger through like one of the places where skin has rotted away. And it looks like it's going through. But she's like, for me, this feels solid. So I guess it's easier for me to deal with because I don't feel any different. If I don't look at myself, it feels like nothing's changed. What it feels like is that I have a chance. Maybe not to win this fight, but to have the will to try. I didn't plan on leaving Barovia. We're strong, and we have numbers, and we have skills, but I think this is going to hurt a lot of us. And I think more of us are going to stay than are going to leave. And I counted myself in one of those numbers. Not in the way I did when I got here, but I think it's because he knows that I'll fight until I can't fight anymore. And so he'll do whatever he can to make it so that that is the reality. But this gives me a reason to keep pushing when he's almost got me beat. For the chance to see my daughter again. For the chance to go home. So, it doesn't look pretty, but it feels like me. My heart is still my heart. I still feel the connection to the sword. I still feel the connection to my mother. To this beautiful and terrifying magic. To the people I met here. I was worried that I'd made a mistake. That I'd done something that I wouldn't be able to deal with, but if I hadn't made that choice, I don't know how much spirit I could have mustered. I don't want to think about how easy it would be to give up. I'm sorry you can't trust me. I really am.
No, like, listen. Right, like, I know this place is getting to me, and I know that just when we wake up 2 days from now, whenever we wake up, it might be the last time we wake up. It might be the last dismal grey morning we see. Now that you talk about it, now that you say it, I get it. You got something to look forward to if you survive. I ain't necessarily got that, but that's a me problem. That's something I got to deal with. I'm just doing this so I can die on my own terms here. Hopefully get out. And this would be a lot fucking easier if I had some goddamn wine.
Kiva doesn't obviously have wine, but she pulls out her in her backpack full of coin. She digs around for a little bit and pulls out her water skin and just says, well, you could pretend if that makes it easier. And she takes a sip and sort of does that dramatic alcohol face. And passes it off to him.
You see that when he reaches up, you see his hands just trembling. And not because he's scared, but because he's been deprived of something he's needed for this entire duration. He takes a sip of it. He takes a big sip of it, actually. Hands it back to you. And waits a few moments. Just still looking at your feet and at the stairs and around. And then turns to you. You remember when we were back in our house? You had, you tried to tell me something, and I kind of just shut you down when I was complaining about not having no wine.
Yeah, I do.
What was that?
My husband was, we had a lavender plant in our garden. Well, I tried to make it a garden. It was really just like a patch of good soil in an otherwise horrific, creepy little forest, not unlike the one we've been trapped in. I used to mix the petals of the flowers in with some hot water. It's supposed to help calm you down, helps your head. And I would, so I would make that for him, and if I can show you. And she just sort of holds out her hands, knowing what they look like. And waits to see if you're gonna take them.
Yeah. He waits a couple beats and looks up and looks back at the flowers and very carefully takes them. You feel kind of like the drag of his nails kind of against your skin as he does. And he takes them and starts to just look at him, sort of like the way Jessica was looking at the book when he handed it off to him.
She just, for a moment, just holds them there, and then she sort of finds just like a pressure point in between an index finger and a thumb. And she just sort of presses and holds that for a little bit. And she says, when he was nauseous, which was often if he wasn't drinking, he used to have me sit here by his side and just squeeze like this. He said it helped focus on something other than the nausea, that pain could be a tool. He liked to remind me that pain could be a tool, but this was the only way that I can remember that actually helped more than it hurt. When I was pregnant, it did the same. Maybe when we get downstairs, I can make you some of that tea. I took all the lavender I could when I left and stuffed it in my bag. So this place is a crucible, I think. It's forged incredibly different beasts out of the people who came in. It's tested us and hurt us. And it's taught us to fear and to hide and to hurt. But it's taught us good things as well. I'd like to think, anyway. And if we get out of here, I know there's plenty of drink in the Feywild, so I've been told. And I've also been told that the only way for non-Fey Fae to get in as with the invitation of someone who is, so if you're interested in a life of tranquility, which after this place sounds a little boring, I'll be honest, you could come with me. And we could just be the people that this place made us. Or anything else. But I would very much like to know that I've made a friend that was not just because we were here at the same time and place, that this meant something in the long run.
Yeah, Metreon looks at the flowers, but then his eyes drift towards the broken wagon. And they just kind of stay there as Kiva makes this offer. And without looking at her, replies, "Yeah, I'll think on it." You know, if we get out of this.
And if we don't, it has been, well, I can't say an absolute pleasure, because it's been a pain in the ass and a terror and miserable, but it's been an honor to know you, to have you by my side, to call you a friend. And whatever happens, you are
But don't finish that. Just fine. Listen, we should get back inside. Yeah, I'm sure they're getting antsy. I'm sure Amity's stew is getting cold if she made any. Hopefully she did. If she didn't, well, I guess we'll be waiting on that. And you see that he's just kind of like stammering and struggling to get up. And he's still holding the flowers, though, like in a vice grip, which is not helping him to get up off the stairs. But eventually he makes it to his feet.
Kiva looks sort of like blindsided for a moment, but then she just closes her mouth and nods. And says, all right. I'm actually really hungry.
Listen, I'm happy you were here with me.
She just offers you a very, very genuine smile, which is slightly creepier than she intended with the hole in her face. But
yeah, I can see all your teeth.
All those pearly whites.
But she stands too, and before going down the stairs, sort of adjusts her, like, you know, Gucci Burberry fur-lined cape, and reaches back into her pack and just sort of slips the glasses into your hand as you walk back down.
Yeah, just pauses and looks at what you give him. You sure?
Well, I mean, look, I've got this, and she sort of does like a little twirl. She's like, imagine how blindsided it'll be if 2 of us walk in looking like absolute buffoons.
I mean, yeah, well, I don't look like a buffoon today, and he starts to put them on. I look fantastic in them. No offense.
You do. Much better than I do. It just doesn't really go with my hair.
I didn't want to say it, but...
Yeah, it's just like...
I think everyone else has eyes, so they knew it, and then,
Right, of course, yeah. And it just goes so well with that shit-eating grin that you always have.
He smiles, and you see a little twinkle of light on the gold of his teeth. His little fang. And, he turns around and heads back into the bar, and as he does, passes Esmeralda, passes Amity, and kind of rustles the bag, trying to, wake Truffle up if he's asleep.
Truffle winks somewhat drowsily from his nap, but as he is aroused, you do see that Danik is beginning to move to serve dinner alongside Adrian, putting out some bowls. Some stew has been prepared, some bread as well. You don't see any sign of Erwin or Davian, strangely enough. But there's food if you would like to partake.
Yep. Kiva, when she walks by Esmeralda, she just sort of gives her shoulder a squeeze and leans down and just sort of bunks her head against Esmeralda's, and then goes over and sits with Ismark and Irina and goes back to, battle planning, because the 2 vampire killers have a lot of chatting to do.
Yeah, Esmeralda kind of gives you a zonked out look for a moment and then cracks a grin. She gives you a nod, and there is happy to watch as your conversation continues. So, while dinner is served, is there anything that anyone would like to be doing?
I think Aerith comes in a few minutes into dinner, sort of obviously having been crying, but seeming better now, and settles down next to Amity, who I imagine is... What is she up to, besides eating?
Is that card game still going?
I would say the card game has finished. If you'd like to speak with Danica or Adrian as they move to set the table, you can do so. Otherwise, there is food available for you.
Yeah, Emity's just engaged in light conversation and chomping down. Does Aerith have something to say?
Yeah, once he's actually started chomping down on stew, he sort of looks over and says, "Weird question for you." As he kind of reaches into his bag and pulls out the diametric sketch of Castle Ravenloft, which he sets down on the table, getting a bit of stew on it and hastily wipes. So, I was, not to interrupt meal with battle planning, but I was looking over this, and what I saw was, look, right down there. There's this little window set into the rock face of Ravenloft, look. And he kind of points to that on the diagram. You think with some rope and stuff we could get down to that?
Ooh. I mean, it would be quite a climb, but you have that grappling hook.
I do, yeah. But I think it would be, 100, 200 feet down? That's a long way. And we need some way to... Can you think of a way to break a window quietly? Because I feel like there's not a lot.
Break a window quietly.
Yeah,
I guess
thinking...
How quietly do we have to be?
I guess not very. It's a big castle, but if we're looking to be all sneaky and subterfugey, then it's worth a shot.
I'll think about ways to break it quietly. Maybe cutting a hole in it or something.
Ooh. But yeah, do you think it'd work?
Yeah, so just a question. Has Amity received the info that Strahd doesn't want, Davian et al. To come, or...?
Not
no,
yet.
you have not yet seen this letter.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think it would work, but, I mean, we have... I guess this is the stealth approach. Are we also considering just going in, saying, "Oh, let's sit down for dinner. Let's enjoy this roast fireball"?
I haven't, honestly. If we think we can pull that off, I'm down for that. But there might be some, and he kind of very quietly tells her what the letter from Strahd said.
I see. In that case, definitely, yeah. This is really smart, and it's going to be completely stealthy. Let's do it, and even do it like maybe a few hours before the dinner scheduled, just so he's all waiting.
Do we know
for
when
us.
the dinner is scheduled, or did he just kind of give us a rolling invitation?
Well, if he didn't
We'll
tell
figure
us
it
when the
out.
dinner is scheduled, then we can just say after going in through the window that we break that we're here for dinner.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks. Just wanted to be sure I'm not crazy. I mean, crazier than I need to be.
I mean, I think crazy's good. Not crazy like some types of crazy, but crazy like this type of plan.
Glad to hear it. And Aerith will dive into his stew.
Metreon will sort of walk up and see the diagram on the table.
Yeah,
what's
Aerith
this?
would have been talking loud enough for him to hear if he wanted to.
What's all this then, yeah?
Oh, map of Ravenloft. I'm plotting entrance strategies with Andy.
Give me this. And he reaches over for the deck of cards from one of the, I think it was Adrian, maybe, who had it. You all ever played three Dragon Ante?
I'm terrible at it, I'm sorry to say. No
well,
poker face.
Even better. What about you?
I shouldn't have told you that.
What about you, Amity?
I've only played 2 Dragon.
Oh, well, you're in for a third. Lil, Kiva, is Arena. Get over here.
Are we betting from the treasure pool? Because that's
Well, I
Good
left all my
mistake.
treasure back there, so you and Kiva got to compensate, put in for the pool. Here. And
I've never actually seen money before in my life, so
No, I don't
guess
believe that.
Erthandir is going to have to do all of the betting for
That's
all
a
of us.
bloody lie, and you know it.
I don't
All
even
right.
know what money is. I've
winner
never-
winner of this evening gets every bit of the Electrum in the wagon.
Didn't you make a point
I-
of not putting Electrum in the wagon?
I think I went back and got it. I couldn't resist.
All right.
I know. I'm ashamed too.
Well, I'm in.
Hell yeah. You're gonna fleece us all.
Of course I am.
Metreon, can you stack the deck so she doesn't just clean us out?
Oh yeah, don't worry about that. And Metron starts dealing the cards. But as they were talking, he would be trying to shuffle the deck in a way of sort of like counting the cards in his favor. So I don't know if that's a sleight of hand check or.
I'll allow a sleight of hand check, contested by passive perceptions.
Can I contest it with my sleight of hand check?
16.
I mean, is Metron giving Lilison the deck to cut?
No.
I have another deck of cards in my inventory.
Oh,
Okay.
then yes, you may attempt a sleight of hand contested by their perception.
Another.
We're
Did you
low
call over
perception
Esmeralda
party.
out of curiosity?
I don't think we did.
No, then in that case, she is happily chatting with Danica and does not see your shenanigans.
As Lillison slips 3 aces up her sleeves.
Fantastic.
Yep.
So we're both winners. But yeah, I'd say that Metron deals everyone in, standing above, not above, but standing, not sitting just to let everyone else sit, but he's dealing everyone in over their shoulders. With the 14 perception, he does not see Lillison slip her own cards into her hand and tuck away the cards that she doesn't want, apparently. And yeah, just spends what time he can winning as much money as he can, but then also realizing, I guess, Lillison is a better player than him.
Should we roll off for it or just let it happen?
I'm curious. Each of you roll 3d6. Let's see who wins each
And
round.
probably modify the cheaters with
Yeah.
what they do.
Cheaters roll with advantage.
Yay!
14.
All right, so it's not total. It's
12.
round by round. We're doing 3 rounds. So first round, what do you get?
Oh,
I got a 13.
12.
It's advantage, so it's take the higher, not combine them. So
Yeah.
3d6. What is the first d6? So I'm talking for Metreon. What is the
Oh.
first
first
d6 roll with
D6.
advantage?
Oh,
Yeah,
it's a
roll
2.
with advantage. Okay. Do I hear higher than a 2 for the first round?
I got a 5.
Anything higher than a 5?
6.
Hey,
I
I think Kiva takes the first round then.
Kiva takes the first round. All right, second round. Everyone roll a d6. Cheaters roll with advantage.
Another 6. Eat my ass.
What?
I'd rather not.
Come on.
6.
Oh no.
All right.
Lilith and
So
Kiva take this one.
Lilith and Kiva both put down whatever the 3-card anti-equivalent of like 2 like flushes is. You can tell I don't know anything about poker at all.
Yeah, no.
That's fine.
In fairness, we know less about 3 Dragon Ante.
Excellent. Third and final round. Let's see who wins it. D6 for everyone. Cheaters roll with advantage.
Another 6.
6.
6. Oh my god, what the hell?
So all 3 of you put down your hands, each of you with a straight flush. But Metreon, you realize that you and Lillison have the exact same 10 of dragons. There's only 1 in this deck.
Yeah. I cock my head towards her and lick my gold fang a bit with one of the points of my tongue. Look, that card looks familiar there.
Yes, it does.
I'd
What
say
kind of
that
deck
the
are you
round
using,
goes to the
Metreon?
not cheaters, I think.
I'm not cheating. Look at her. Hey, listen. This is the authentic card. You see it's still folded in the corner here? That's mine. So
Yes,
that's
the part where you marked it so you could count it.
I can't count nothing. Look, all right, listen.
You know what? I'll shuffle. I'll shuffle. One more hand. You 2 fight it out.
No, listen. I think I'd prefer to shuffle. Really,
You hear footsteps approaching the table, and you hear Davian clearing his throat. Right, what the bloody hell's going on over here?
3 Dragon Ante.
Right, who's cheating?
Metreon and Lillison.
Lillison.
At least
It's just
Lillison.
Lillison. It's just Lillison. Believe me.
Excellent, make it 3. Deal me out.
Yeah, I'll hand him some cards.
Christ. Aerith is
All right,
losing
so
a lot
what
of
is this?
money and feels very happy about it.
This is a 3-way card game round.
Between
for
those 3, yeah.
All right, sure. Davian will roll, and I'm gonna make both of you roll to Slate of Hand again.
Okay.
Just
I
for fun.
believe in you.
All right. That is a 20.
That's
Oh,
an actual 20,
God.
26 total.
Okay. Davian reveals his hand. What are your hands? Let's see what they are. Roll with advantage.
That's going to be a 5.
Also a 5.
Davian sees that there are 2 aces of angels on the table, and he just spits with a laugh and leans back in his chair. Right, I should have known better than to gamble with 2 cheaters. Well played, the both of you.
Listen, I really think that, given the past events that have transpired, you should really cut back on the cheating. This is just a card game, love.
Look, if you had the audacity to mark your cards in a way that's different from the way I mark my cards, then we wouldn't be in this situation.
I don't mark my cards because I'm not a thief. That's not
Are
what
you
I
not?
do. No, I'm a hustler. There's a difference.
Oh, what's the difference?
I don't know. I don't steal as much. I'm a people person, I if I steal something, I steal it to the face.
Listen, it's giving you like the biggest side eye right now, but like with a giant grin.
Davian is chuckling and just kind of putting his cards back on top of the deck. Right then, so, forgive me for being out for a bit. I'm a bit out of the loop. What's the plan then? Looking to head over there tomorrow, day after, and are we doing some kind of war meeting at some point?
One moment first. And Lillison's going to take out the note that she got from Strahd and just set it on the table. And she says, evidently, if you are coming openly with us, well, that's going to be bad.
Also you, Casimir. And you, Ismark.
No mention of Ez or Irina, though. which is strange.
Which I assume means y'all will be priority targets.
She kind of flips the note around so that Davian can see it.
He scrutinizes it for a moment, just kind of picking it up and squinting at the text. Then he snarls under his breath, almost crumples the paper up, and then sighs and pushes it over to Casimir, who kind of holds it up so Ismark can see as well as the two read it. Ismark scowls. Right. I think that I am not the only one to say that I do not give two shits who Strahd von Zerevich wants to invite to his castle or not.
Your decision to make.
Casimir nods. I've come this far, and frankly, there's not a whole lot left for me if I can't at least attempt what I came here to do. And he holds out his hand, and you see the bony fingers for a moment as he shakes his head and pulls them back under the cloak. I appreciate his effort to dredge up old wounds in an attempt to intimidate me, but I understand what I'm walking into.
Well then.
Do we know whether he has some means of seeing through invisibility?
Davian shrugs, and Esmeralda frowns. That I am not sure of. But I do know that a vampire's senses are enhanced far beyond any mortal beasts. It will not be a matter of being unseen from him. It will be whether he can hear you or smell you.
Nasty. Of course, invisibility gives some combat advantages on its own, but it means we can't rely on it for stealth.
Agreed.
It is, Raina, it's not too late. None of us will hold it against you if you don't want to come. But I'd hate for something to happen to you both.
Irina just shakes her head, not scowling quite as fiercely as Ismark, but look, I appreciate it, but like Casimir said, we've all come this far. And all I know at this point is that there are these things that I want to know. There are these memories of a castle, of a prince, of a man, and it all leads back somehow to Zarevich. There's something there that I'm missing, and whatever is at the other end of it, I need to see it. I'm not walking out of here now. And even if none of that came to play, I'm not going to turn around and leave you to go in on your own. You did your best to keep me safe, all this way, until we found out that nowhere is safe, except with each other. The least I can do is do the same for you now. And she gives a nod to the rapier at her side and lightly touches the crossbow strapped to her back.
Kiva just looks over at her and, so much love. And then sort of puts a hand out on hers and says, "We'll be right by your side here too. We go in together and we'll go out together."
And it's a promise, at least for me.
All right. If all of us are committed to the course, then the day after tomorrow, I think. We need time to recharge, to plan, to test some strategies, do some shopping. But after then, we go. And we don't leave till him or us is dead.
Do we all go in together as a declaration of outright war? Or do we keep up the pretense a little longer?
I think we're carrying, with what we've done and what he knows of us, he knows. And I think there's a limited amount he'll be willing to play when we're out and out trying to kill him. I vote we just go in. I've been talking to Amity about an alternative entrance. I'm going to see if that's feasible tomorrow. If it is, I'd suggest we use it.
Very well.
Good luck, team. And use your last day well. Do what you need to do.
This is really the point where we should all be doing shots.
Alas.
Tavian gives a nod. Right then. One more day, here at peace. And then the day after, we go to war and we kill a fucking vampire. Sounds good to you?
Let's do it.
And as everyone nods, that's where we're going to end the episode for today.
Whew. Wow. It's weird to be able to, like, see the end physically with my eyes now.
Oh, you're seeing it physically?
Yeah, I am. Ravenloft's just manifested in front of me. It's freaking me out.
Oh, well, can you, like, angle it so we can see it too?
Oh, yeah, sure. Let me turn on my webcam. Might just be hallucinating, though.
Just an apparition of a massive castle floating 3 feet away from your computer screen.
I did download an STL file that someone made of 3D Castle Ravenloft, as you probably saw in shitposting.
It was glorious.
Beautiful. All right, then. Well, I guess now we know where everyone is, and we know where everyone's going. I'm excited for the wind-up.
I'm gonna have to, spend half an hour in character, sorting the 2 decks of cards back out again.
Yeah, well.
Should have been an elf. That's what I do during all my trances, all the mundane shit, so I don't have to say it.
Just, reshuffling your cards and oiling your armor and...
Yeah. Like clipping your toenails. That's important.
On that wonderful note...
Oh, fuck off.
I really wanted to... No, that's fair. It's a perfectly normal function of life.
Goodbye, lovely Twice Bitten community. We love you so. Good night.
I'm sure Earthrendeer's toenails are very nicely painted.
Good night. Until next time.
Wait, are we still on air?
Be safe and take care.
I will take that opportunity to say thank you to everyone for joining us today. We will see you all back in the mists next week. Until then, fear the shriek of the mountain's wings, and take care, everyone.